We gather here once again on this fateful first week of the month where we report our findings in the media forms, Peter and myself, because that's what we do best. That's our jobs. That's why we were put onto this gosh darn planet to do and to deliver to the fine listeners who are listening in,
You're
or so I
damn
hope.
right.
Um, so we got the movie section, Peter, and I can start us off as one does, with this film called Meg from 2002. I don't know how this film got into my watch list, but I'm pretty glad that it did because it's just like this really interesting, sort of out there kind of thing that I came out liking quite a lot. Like, very rarely do uh, character studies in film focus on a female protagonist. Most of the time, it's like a dude, and it's like showing off how weird some random guy is. With like, well, maybe girls could be weird too. Okay, if we're fighting for equality in the cinema zone, which is sort of what I guess this movie contributes to. And yeah, it just follows this sort of weird, wacky, interesting character. She sort of fumbles around her way in the life. I don't even know what she does. She sort of goes from one thing to another, and over the course of the film, everything sort of slowly pieces itself together in more ways than one. And yeah, it's just a fun time. It's funny. It's a little bit scary sometimes, I guess, but it's uh, a really nice time overall. I think it's flawed in some ways. There's like some pandering, slightly moments where it's like the what that happens around them, like I think is fine, but exactly how it was executed in the movie was like a little bit like there were
Mm-hmm.
other ways to approach it. I feel like, without spoiling it. Um, but yeah, like other than that, it's just a really nice time. It maybe not be for everybody necessarily because it is a little bit weird and out there. But I liked it, so that means people with good taste should also enjoy it. So I recommend it.
Interesting, because I've never heard of this movie. I've never heard of any of the people associated with it. Like the director hasn't done anything that I know.
No,
I'm very
yeah,
curious
like
as
I
to
look
how
at
you
his other
found
stuff and
this.
it's like schlop after schlop after the B movie. Yeah,
Yeah, good find, I guess. So
yeah, no,
I'm glad you could found something you enjoy out of the ether. I guess it just came to you.
yeah. It just summoned in my uh, watch list somehow. It was just there. I'm like, all right, that's what I'm doing.
Well, that's good. On my end, I honestly I've been slacking on my movie
Bro, I
consumption
looked at your
this month.
letterboxd
It's it's
history, and I'm like,
pretty
this can't be right. Surely
it's
you just
pretty
didn't
it's pretty
log
tough.
stuff.
No, yeah, it took me a while to get any movies, and the movies a lot of the movies that I watched were watched over the holidays with family, and so you'll see a habit of me rewatching a lot of things when you look at my letterbox right now. Although I did get to see a couple good new films recently, so maybe it's getting back into me
Hmm.
to actually be watching more of these things. But I guess something to talk about would be rewatching the movie Hacksaw Ridge, which I
Oh,
watched
okay.
like the year that it came out,
Oh, really?
and I remember liking it. I think it was like a pretty decent war movie. I think it was like sincere, and it kind of spoke to me in some way,
Mm-hmm.
enough for me to give it a six and a star and a like. But on rewatch, I kind of fell out of love with it. I felt much more blatant, not as original, uh,
Yeah.
kind of pandering and just like super safe. And Mel Gibson's a really interesting director when you look at like the titles that he's had. He's
Right.
had like three fairly like really successful movies, and each of them have been like like different standards for his style of direction, which is just very very earnest, I think, although maybe a little tone deaf in some ways. And it's just I think as I've had another few years to watch more movies and films
Right.
and specifically war movies, I find myself like very hesitant to celebrate many like war films. It's just a hard thing to get right, like balancing
Yeah,
tonally
definitely.
versus like the horror
Yeah, the
and obviously
realistic
the
aspects
heroism
of
that is
like
born.
the versus
Yeah,
propaganda, which this sort of
yeah,
is.
yeah. It's just always a strange kind of balance that I find myself having to wrestle with when I watch films like these. And sometimes there's still great war films out there.
Hmm.
Thin Red Line. I was just constantly thinking of Thin Red
That's
Line,
like the
having
best war
watched that
movie.
pretty
It
recently,
just has
and
every
then
like
watching
beat
Hacksaw
in
Ridge.
any war movie.
Yeah,
It just
yep.
has it all in there,
But it's
and
just
some of its
told
own
in
unique stuff, like
yeah.
mixed with the Terrence Malickisms.
hmm Full Metal Jacket. There are
Right.
fantastic war
Actually, yeah,
films
that's
out
probably
there.
better.
Um, but it's interesting to be able to compare ones that are maybe lacking in some way.
No, yeah, I like
But
this
yeah,
one. It's like not a bad movie at all. It's
no,
just like it's like a good story. It's just super corny, and it's like yeah, like
yeah,
super
very
amped up.
overwrought and emotional, and it is like it's a powerful story.
No, yeah.
But it's the way it's told, it can be a little blatant and
Hmm.
uh, oh, but you know to each his own.
Hmm.
Mel Gibson is a very successful director uh, for all of his unique characteristics.
Hmm. All right. Next up, I got this one. I also don't know how this one got into my watch list either, but I saw this one called The Draughtsman's Contract. And this is one about this painter who gets hired by this sort of aristocratic family to just make a bunch of paintings of like landscape paintings of their estate. And it takes place like in France in like the like I have no idea, like 1400s, 1800s. It's like somewhere in there. It's like one of those decades or centuries. I
Okay.
mean,
hmm
um, and yeah, it's just like a fun, really nice, also unique time here, where the characters are just really witty. It's just aristocrats hurling like whatever smart sort of insults they can at each other for basically the whole runtime. Um, and I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's nice. It's got some good narration and nice music accompanying it. The scenic views is quite cool. And yeah, it's funny and well written and well acted. And yeah, I recommend this one as well. It's a solid watch.
Yeah, I'm not sure where you're finding these movies, but I'm glad that
From
they
hitting
come
all
to me because
the indie hits.
I guess. Um, Not much more to talk about on my end. I guess I can talk about my rewatch of Cars,
Okay.
which I have a baby cousin who's now around 3 years old, and
You were
she's
introducing them to the
starting to.
classics. Like you gotta.
Indeed. We watched her favorite right now was Moana. So we ended up watching that again, which I thought was it's a good movie. I still think it's not one of Disney's like best, but it's a decent one. The
Yeah.
music's pretty good. I think that's the standout.
Hmm.
Um, but Cars was obviously one that a Disney Pixar movie that came out like for me like during my like I was the prime audience,
Right.
and I remember loving it, rewatching it many times throughout my childhood. But I haven't watched it in a while, and so rewatching it, it was obviously very nostalgic. But there's a it's certainly hard to separate that from my experience of rating it fairly highly. But I also just think it's more mature. The writing is less in your face
Hmm.
in general when comparing it to other contemporary animated movies that they're making now. And the characters are, I feel like oftentimes more flawed or maybe less, you know, obtuse. Because a lot of recent Disney animated movies have had like characters that are very almost either one note or set up in ways that are very predictable.
Yeah.
And Cars is like about as archetypal of like a hero's journey that you're gonna get, with your cocky rookie that has to, learn his lesson in
Right.
order to truly win. It's a tale as old as time, but it's done in obviously a very unique lens. Talking cars. Whoever thought of that? That's crazy.
What are they gonna do next? Bugs? Oh
Who
wait, that was before.
Planes. Oh wait. But no, rewatching it was a lot of fun. They're not perfect movies
Sure.
by any means, but they're earnest, have a good lesson, and they're incredibly entertaining. In my opinion, great voice acting, just a lot of fun.
They don't make them like this anymore. And Peter knows
I
because he had to.
don't.
He had to binge
been-
watch all of the more
I
recent
had to.
Pixar things. He had to for you, the listener. He sacrificed himself to watch 20
it
of
was an
those
obligation.
godforsaken things.
Obligated. Yep,
But we're past that. We could go back to the good stuff.
indeed.
All right. So yeah, also I wanted to review the story of a game that I'm planning on going back to, but I'm going back to it in such a way where I'm not replaying it in its entirety. I'm playing its DLC thing that picks up where the story left off. And I couldn't be bothered to replay this 100-hour JRPG again, so I checked out the Persona 3 movie adaptations. There's
Okay.
4 of these things, and their
4.
subtitles in order is Spring of Birth, Midsummer Night's Dream, Falling Down, which I thought was a bad title until I realized that it's the seasons in the name of it. Then I'm like, oh, it's genius.
It's genius.
And then the 4th one is Winter of Rebirth. And these overall serve as decent like summaries of what happens, because like that's really all they're like, these video game adaptations, and even like you could argue books to movies, or even sometimes maybe TV shows. It's really going to be that greatest hits of like, here's the stuff that happens, but maybe not everything is fully like detailed out, because it's just less time you could spend with them. And adapting video games is quite interesting for story-driven games, specifically ones like Persona, where you might like every once in a while come across like an hour-long string of cutscenes, but then that's also going to be intermixed with however many hours of like other random stuff. You know what I mean? So it's like the story is spliced incrementally between the gameplay, and we're basically just sort of taking all of those key moments out of there and putting them together. And it sort of mostly works across the 4 of these, generally sort of getting better with each one. Like they end up even in like the 4th one sort of making up some events, or in the 3rd one they make up some events. In the 4th one they like recontextualize certain events to take place alongside or directly after others, to like fuel the stuff that happens after that to try to not spoil it. And so it's like, it's interesting for those reasons, like the differences in them, though like probably more of like the smaller ones I maybe wasn't able to notice because it's been like however long, like over a year since I've played that, and it's like, it's a long game and it's a lot of story. But they, I think overall, do a decent job adapting it. They sort of give the protagonist a character in this, where like in the game, they're just kind of like a blank slate, whatever type of thing. But in the adaptation, you sort of have to make something out of it, because it's not the player, or like, it can't even be the audience member directly controlling them. So you have to give them something. And what they gave him was decent overall. I've heard that for the Persona 4 animations, there's 2 of them, but for the original, people like that version of Yu Narukami quite a lot.
I've seen clips.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but yeah, I think I've also seen like random clips of it too.
Yeah. I've seen clips of all of the protagonists, and it is very interesting how they have to, go about creating like not a canon character, but for the all intents and purposes, it is like a canon character for, the protagonist that it for a JRPG is always going to be controlled by the character or by the player for the most part.
No, yeah, like their decision making in like how they form that, along with whatever other differences, like major differences from the game, is gonna be the thing that's, I guess, most interesting to me. Um, and like, yeah, revisiting it, it's like a good video game story. It's again sort of weird to adapt certain things over, but like it was nice going back to them. But like, yeah, they sit in this weird spot where like I would never recommend them to people who haven't played the games. You know what I mean? Like it's like because there's gonna be like so much of it that you like they just really wouldn't get a whole lot out of. You know, it was just kind of like most of it. I mean, you might get something out of these 4 movies, maybe. If you like anime and you haven't played Persona 3, like you might get someone out of them.
You'd get the story, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, why not? And it's nice. So yeah, that's the verdict. They're nice, but like it's tough to recommend because I would only say it's like it's best for people like me in my situation where it's like I want to revisit the story but not play the entire game. So it's like kind of just for that. But yeah, still a
Definitely
good version of that type of adaptation, I guess.
Yeah, it's maybe something that I'll check out if I ever want to like refresh myself on
Right.
like, oh yeah, I haven't gone back to Persona 3 in
Oh
a
yeah,
while,
and then
so
that happened.
yeah,
Yes.
that's how I
They
remember
just
it.
yeah, they did end up including the fucking bathhouse scene because that was such an important
Of course,
canon moment that happened in the story that's like
very, very
we must
important.
include this. But yeah. Anyways,
On my end, I got to see a movie that in theaters after so long,
what?
not watching a movie like all of last month.
Mm-hmm.
Finally got in to see the talk of the town right now, and that's the movie Sinners
Ooh.
by Ryan Coogler. It's being, critically and audience alike they're all loving it.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to agree with them. It's a really fun movie. It's really like very grand and dramatic, really ambitious, but pulled off really really well. There's a lot of love and passion that you can feel poured out into this movie, with like its love for blues and music and showing that appreciation throughout the movie. Really great performances throughout. Michael B. Jordan crushes it as like 2 different brothers, so he gets to play 2 different characters essentially,
Mm-hmm.
and the effects are all incredibly seamless. Like you never really notice or ever think about like, oh yeah, these guys are definitely not in the same room together. But through whatever, digital and physical trickery, they were able to pull it off super well.
Mm-hmm.
The lead, Miles Catton, he is, a unknown actor up until this point. I think this is his first breakout role.
Oh really?
And he crushes it. He's also a singer. I think he was raised in, gospel church or kind of choir-based singing, and has a wonderful voice, and he gets to show it off in the movie in a ton of really fun ways. Just great music throughout, by Ludwig Göransson, I think, who's, famous at this point, is one of many people's favorite composers after doing so much with Oppenheimer and Chernobyl, and I think he obviously did Sinners and The Mandalorian. Has a bunch of really, really memorable soundtracks under his belt now, and, is definitely worthy of his praise and his success. Yeah, it's there's been a ton that has been said about this movie, kind of championing original cinema and like being the success story that everyone wanted after, the history of so many IP bound films that are being shown in the box offices now.
Right.
Just looking
There was that
last,
they put what the fuck episode 3 of Star Wars back
yeah,
in the
yeah,
theaters and
they
just to
just
make
put
a
it
shit
back,
ton
and
of money. And then
that's so
everybody's
much
like, it's
money.
actually
Yep,
peak.
it's
It's
like
the greatest thing ever.
maybe we have to do that again. Yeah, so it'll be really interesting to see what that spells for theaters around the world. But
Yeah, just release
Sinners,
shit that's 20 years old. It'll work.
they do, except Ryan Coogler because he's that guy.
Dang.
And I may have not. I really liked Creed from him. I really liked Fruitvale Station. He's a really talented director. The Black Panthers are good. I think they're they're still beholden to being a Marvel movie. So good can only get you so far. But Ryan Coogler, I think, has a really great directive vision and has movies that he wants to tell. The actual like story and conflicts, the vampire lore that it is woven into this movie. It's all really compelling stuff. A lot to chew on. Nothing in your face. It's a smart movie. Characters are smart. They make good decisions, but they're put into tough situations. But the movie does a good job of characterizing them and letting you spend time with them. Essentially, like the first half, maybe a third of the movie is really just like character setup. It's very very kinetic in its storytelling. It really just propels you along and gets you rooting for all these characters. And then when the conflict begins to arise and things start to get out of hand, it's really effective. Definitely not a perfect movie in my opinion. I think it does get unwieldy at points. It's ambitious maybe to a fault. It tries to do a lot, and some of those things I don't land the mark. Specifically, and like the latter half of the movie, pace, it gets really accelerated, which keeps things tense, and I think it's effective for the most part. It does kind of get out of the way towards the end, and there are certain decisions around like endings that I won't spoil, but it gets a little overambitious, I think, at the end, but it's still something that I would absolutely recommend. Really great to see that everyone's loving it. Definitely worth it.
Yeah, it's on my list, and yeah, like when it first dropped on Letterboxd, it had like a 4.8 or 7 or something for like a week
shit,
or two or something.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my god, it's the greatest thing ever. But I mean, yeah, it's just one of those like, I don't know, the early pre-showing event.
It's currently
I don't
number 233.
Yeah,
in
it's
the
still pretty. It's still in the top
250,
which
which is very impressive. We'll have to see if that sticks around as more people watch it. But hey, I enjoyed my time with it immensely. Very, very good.
Yeah, for sure. It's one to check out, which I will do eventually, at some point, someday. And then yeah, on my end, I ended up rewatching this movie called Tropic Thunder, which was a pretty good time, I would say. They don't make the comedies like this anymore, for reasons of, I guess, offensive humor or whatever. It just like certain things that they would do or say in this that they can't get away with today. But like even beyond that, like just give me a comedy that's actually funny, and that's like what this is. And it's like out there, and it's like a fun idea, and just executed in a good way, where it felt like the people involved weren't just trying to get a paycheck, and they actually sort of cared about like the characters they were portraying in the story that they were playing a part in. At least a little bit, I would ask for, or most modern comedies of the today to at least follow in that practice, maybe a little bit. And yeah, I saw this when I was like in middle school originally. This is the first time I'm seeing it since then, I think. And I did really like it just because it was so out there at that age, despite the fact that like I really didn't even understand much of like what was going on or why a lot of things were funny, which is typical for like if you're a kid and you're watching a comedy for adults. But I don't even think I realized that Robert Downey Jr. is not black, or, like even though like in universe point, they explain that because it's not even like a thing that I'm like thinking about, it's not even like a concept to me that somebody could pretend to be another race. Like that doesn't exist in my like 12-year-old brain. You know what I mean? Like I see
No,
Jack Black,
I
I'm like,
get
oh,
it.
that's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Kung Fu Panda guy. You know, like, and that's about it. Or the Ben Stiller's the Night at the Museum guy. You know what I mean? It's like
Hmm.
that's all I have to go off of or think about
Yeah.
or anything involving this movie. And yeah, it's like it's so cool and like fucking why am I blanking on his name? The fucking action man himself, fucking Tom Cruise. I don't know. How could I
Oh yeah,
blank on a
yeah,
name
yeah.
like that? He's in this film and plays such a hilarious character.
No, he does have a great role. That I know there's a bunch of lore around like how he got to join the movie and like
Lore?
why he decided
Is
to
there?
wear a fat suit. It's just like he just wanted to. Like he basically made the character,
His
and
hands
it's
are
like,
huge in
did
this.
I
Like were those
exactly?
prosthetic hands or was it just that
Yep.
just his normal?
No,
Okay.
I don't think those are his normal grippers, but
Oh
yeah,
damn.
it's a fun role for him. He doesn't normally get to play
No, yeah, he's
super
usually
villainous
action man,
characters.
and like
Yeah,
just,
the few times that he
sometimes in
does get
those
to
movies
play,
they'll like do light
yeah,
comedy that isn't too funny,
he,
but in this he does a good
he
ass
gets to
job.
ham it up.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly. So it's just cool, and it's yeah. At the start of it, they played like fake trailers also,
Hmm.
which was fun. They weren't like I don't know the best, but like they were also sort of silly and just a little bit out there. But it was world building also. Like it was the setting up like the because it's a movie about making a movie that goes wrong, and it's about actors in our world are playing actors in the film. So it sort of sets up like who each of them are with their like previous roles, I guess, in universe. Um, but yeah, anyways, it was a really cool comedy that I wish more movies were like not necessarily because of like what exactly like the what it's doing, but like how it's executing on its comedy ideas, and also just having like decent action and like a decent story. Honestly, like I was surprised by like how well the action when it does happen was handled eventually. So it's nice.
Yeah, this kind of comedy is hard to get right for me. I find comedy to be one of my least watched like film genres, I guess.
Same.
Just because for the most part, I don't find a lot of
Or
them
least
funny.
liked. Yeah, because it
Yeah.
sort of relies. Most films like rely way too heavily on that, and like outside of the
Hmm.
comedy, there's like no story. There's like no
Yeah.
good characters. Oftentimes there's like it's like not even shot well or anything. It's like not even an art form. It's just like a bunch of big names going and improvising random scenes together. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
those are the things that I hate the most, maybe, or
Yeah.
it's a pet
It's
peeve of mine at least.
I know there's like obviously a massive audience for those kind of movies, but the Will Ferrell led, uh,
No,
Adam
yeah,
Sandler
yeah.
led, whatever those kind of movies is has usually missed for me. But
I think for most
I
people they're a
do.
miss. I mean, people like Will Ferrell more, I guess, but like yeah,
Hmm.
but even yeah, I agree for like those two specifically. But even outside of that, there's a lot where it's just like, I mean, what I was saying last time, the white background with the black or red text. Usually those are like the just complete
Yeah,
aids.
and they often overlap in these genres.
Hmm.
Um, but Thunder or Tropic Thunder, I do really enjoy. It's definitely a cut above, and it's very obviously excessive and gratuitous, but it's very funny in my opinion for that.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, Last movie I could talk about is the one I just watched today, which I watched because I have been reading the book that it is adapted from, and that would be the film Naked Lunch, directed by Cronenberg.
Hmm.
Um, it's I it's such a weird book that I will talk about
Ooh,
when we get to the book section.
ooh.
But the adaptation is also really interesting. Um, I guess I can talk about the book a little because just in that it's such a fragmented book and very strange, like really non-literal and like druggy and like disgusting, and trying to adapt it into a film seems like it would be impossible. So there are definitely liberties taken, but it's using events that take place in the book and telling a different story with it, honestly. It was much more of a like an autobiographical take on it, because the author William S. Burroughs of Naked Lunch essentially has a character that he puts into a few of his books, called Lee, and he is essentially a semi self-insert for the author. And so Cronenberg took that character and then used events from the story to tell a story about the author, William S. Burroughs, and kind of taking moments of his life and weaving that into the book, which, because Burroughs put so much of himself into his books, it works in a strange way. Whereas the book, I don't think, was so much directly about Burroughs, and more of a general critique and parody and black, disgusting, weird, awful, like extravagant and strange look at just like American culture in general and culture at large. It's a very strange book. I'll have to talk more about it. The movie dealt more with how the character of Lee and the events that take place in the book kind of molded to fit and darkly mirror that of the author, William S. Burroughs. And it's not necessarily apparent in that way, but having read it, it's very strange to see that as a way to adapt a book. And it's a very creative kind of way of doing it. I thought it worked really well, honestly. I liked the movie a lot. Obviously, the prosthetics and the body horror and the usual Cronenberg-isms are all here. Really impressive stuff. I liked all the actors and actresses. I thought the performances were really solid. Enjoyable. I think there is always like just the general weirdness and jankness that comes with Cronenberg and that style of horror, I guess you would say this is, although this one is
it like borders on that. It might
like
be tagged as that technically, but like it's not really.
It's not like kind of that kind of horror. It's more of, I mean, this one is almost told in like a noir kind of private eye type investigative lens, where he's getting his orders from his typewriter bug that are being like, yes,
and the book isn't about that at all.
People.
There's no typewriter commanding him.
Not really, no. The mugwumps are there, and it gets much more perverse and extreme and non-literal and fragmented in the book. But there are like hallucinations that come off like weird drugs and the strangeness of Interzone, and in this movie it was interesting to see because Interzone seemed like it was more of like a hallucination of New York, where he came from or escaped to, and it was more like this was just like a drug trip, whereas the Interzone in the book is modeled after, I believe, I can't remember where it was, but William S. Burroughs lived, I think it was in Morocco, maybe. He lived there himself for some time, and spoke of that like kind of insular culture there, and kind of did his own weird take on it. But it was interesting to see kind of the difference between how Interzone is portrayed through in the book and then here in the movie. Just interesting, I guess, depiction of how to get adaptation right, where you don't really have to go for the exact same thing that the original source was, but taking it and doing interesting things while still like staying true to the spirit of the original. It can be very successful.
Yeah, that's super interesting. I had no idea it was like a mix sort of like his real life and then like parts of the novel. I just thought it was full on.
Because that William Tell act, when Lee shoots his own wife, William S. Burroughs is well known for actually having shot his wife in Mexico when he was drunkenly trying. That was the thing that they did, and
Damn.
it's legitimately what happened to him. And so,
Wow.
yes, that is a part of the books, because he has written about himself into books like that.
Did he write
And
that after he did that or before?
yeah, no one really knows what happened. He was never arrested, or he may have been arrested, but is out now and writing. So no one really knows what happened, but
Okay.
he did kill his wife. He was legitimately a heroin addict and an addict
Yeah.
to many things,
Oh, wow.
including young men. Yeah, he's a very interesting character to be an author, but his stuff is very influential, kind of in that beat generation, with Kerouac and others of that caliber. But yeah, interesting stuff.
Yeah, I saw this one maybe 3 years ago. I'm not really sure.
Hmm.
It was cool though, and yeah, just like super unique and like weird, and like it really felt like you were diving in the mind of like just a totally different person.
Yeah, who's like all fucked up on drugs, and you're like, what is this real? Is it not? Really can't tell.
Yeah, and the Cronenbergisms that do exist in this are acceptable, or at least more acceptable than in his other stuff, because it's like it's fitting that like weird sort of vibe, I guess, of the author, while also included the like uh, out there creature designs of various things that exist within the film. But yeah, cool. So then I got one more. I ended up seeing The Brutalist, and I gave it a
Oh,
6 out of 10. So this film
man,
is what, 3 hours 40 minutes?
it
It's
is.
a long
It's a
ass
long
time.
one.
It's so
Hmm.
yeah, and I think you and other people had sort of said that like the first half is really great and it sort of loses you in the second half.
Hmm.
That was how you sort of felt a little bit about it slightly? I
Um,
think that's what you said,
Somewhat.
maybe. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Because
So
like the first half is much more optimistic and
sure.
more stereotypical of the you know American dream journey, and then the second one is less enjoyable. I still liked it quite a bit, but
Yeah, the first
I
half is
liked it
definitely
more than
much.
you hyped it.
It's sort of like a rise and fall. Like
Hmm.
the sort of peak in the middle, like where he meets up with his family again at like the start of the second half. I guess I spoiled it, but like whatever. Um,
Hmm.
and yeah, it like, but I sort of enjoy that though, and I enjoy eventually where it goes. There's really nothing majorly wrong about it or like bad,
Hmm.
really, like on a technical standpoint. Like it's really nice looking and it's well acted. It's just that it's immensely slow, and the story, for the most part, like feels a bit basic and
Okay.
like
Yeah.
because yeah, the first half it's like that. It's sort of like the zero to like I have nothing and now I'm steadily like building my way up and becoming like a famous cool epic person with an important job or whatever, as like an immigrant like moving into the America, like the American dream stuff. And yeah, like there's stories like that, and this is not at all a bad version of that story, but it just like like it's weird, like the way he eventually gets to like the position where he's doing the success. It
Hmm.
feels like I don't know how earned it is, because it's all a matter of like oh, before the events of the film he like worked his ass off and became famous in Europe, and it's sort of a reset in America, but then it's just a matter of like one rich dude finding out about him, and it's like okay, well now he's off and all the problems
It
are
does
over, I
happen
guess.
very quickly, but
Yeah.
you
That's
say it's a
yeah.
very long movie,
No,
so
I know.
it's like,
Yeah, not to say that he doesn't have issues beyond that, because
hmm.
there certainly is. Because it takes some interesting turns in the second half. I guess that's why I'm not like
Hmm.
so disinterested in that part as compared to the first. Because like it might be more flawed on like a story based standpoint, maybe. But I admire the directions that it eventually sort of ends up going in. And yeah, it leaves you with like a taste of like, I mean, really anything. Like it's sort of negative, like in terms of like the the mood of it. But you could still take maybe sort of positive things away from it.
How did you feel about the epilogue?
It's weird. Yeah, what?
Like the epilogue is. How did you feel about
Well,
the
it's kind
epilogue?
of fucked.
Because it is such a strange
But
thing.
like it's positive also because they're celebrating his life also, even though he's not like bedridden, but he's wheelchair ridden, and I think his brain is a little bit messed up by that point. But he's also really old.
He's deteriorated.
Yeah, like the stuff that happened to him before that made him that way also. Like other than just age, certain stuff affected him in ways.
Oh, for sure.
That
really
epilogue
it's very up
it's
in the
interesting.
Air. And then that speech, it just like
no, I know,
is so out there.
Yeah. The speech.
It's like
because that's the thing. The other thing is like that speech. Like they literally say in it maybe like what the movie is about. It's not the
like it
journey.
could be
it's the destination.
taken as that.
And like if we were just to take that literally at face value, like that pisses me off. It's like we shouldn't need to be explained that. But if that is a real piece of dialogue that we are including in the movie, surely there must be some intention towards that other than this is how the audience should feel and we want them to feel. Maybe it's some like inverse of that where it's like it's not about that. That's how people in real life who are doing similar things to the characters want us to feel, but it's actually not that or something. Like, I don't know.
It's definitely a way to end a movie.
No, I know.
I think it does add a lot of like unique context to the rest of the film that you could like take on rewatch, and I think it would be really interesting on rewatch.
No, I know. I probably would get more out of it on a rewatch. It was just like, I just felt like it was way too long, which is normally not a complaint that I have towards these longer films that have come out in recent years. But it was one that I had for this one specifically.
Yeah, I think this movie is like so like grand and like it's overbearing to some extent. Like they play everything very straight. Like the story is just like it's a man's life, like the journey and like the ups and downs of it all.
Right.
But it's not like I could see how it might be boring. I think I was just able to buy into kind of the almost like the grandness and like the metaphorical nature of everything, where it's like, yes, this is a character and it's meant to seem very real and grounded. Like this is what happened just like whatever 20 years ago or 80 years ago. And I took it more as like just the journey of an artist as more of like an archetypal story and journey. And just kind of buying into that nature of it. It's a super just ambitious movie in general, and so I can understand it if like it doesn't hit for everyone because
I hated it.
I
gave it a positive rating.
Yeah, exactly. Like I can't say much wrong about it. I can't either. Like, and really, I think that's fair.
I mean, I guess I sort of complained maybe slightly about it earlier, but like, I see like from that perspective of like viewing it as like the overall perhaps experience of an artist. And like I think what's his name, Man Carrying Thing, he has sort of an interesting takeaway where it's like, is art really worth anything? Is anything worth anything? What matters beyond the people we choose to spend our life on earth with, which is I think a pretty solid takeaway.
It's a movie that like it doesn't even give you an answer, it just raises the questions. Which I think is
it's really more important than answering it, because that's the thing. If that one line at the end where it's not the destination or it's not the journey, it's the destination. Like if that's the fucking message, then like that's stupid that you tell us that. But if it's not that, then I'm cool with it.
Exactly, and like these are the words that are being asserted to the main character, but it's done by his niece.
Yeah, not by him, by someone who's totally taken another look at it, and like she's not even in the film until that scene. So she
but
really
then
has
you think
no
about it.
like.
She had the opening.
All right, now I'm
scene.
convinced that
Like
this
the
is
very
not
opening, the
intentional.
prologue was her.
Wait, what was
I
her in
think
the prologue?
she is the prologue character. The opening, the beginning of the framing of the entire movie is she's the opening when like she's being interviewed by the Germans and like.
Oh, that was her. I thought that was
German?
the other actress.
No,
They look the same.
Felicity Jones. Yeah, no, it was.
No, I'm talking about
Raffi Cassidy.
She wasn't the one giving that speech, was she? I thought that was someone else.
Oh no. Yeah,
that's what I'm
at
talking
the very end. But that's her character.
Oh, but it's played by somebody else?
Yes, because it's what 80 or 50 years in the future or whatever.
Okay.
But yeah, Raffi Cassidy plays a different character. Brady Corbett does that, like
I did watch Vox Lux also, and
he did the same thing, and it was like fucking weird.
Yeah,
I don't know why he does that because it makes it purposefully like more confusing.
Wait, but I thought Raffi Cassidy she still played herself in the future. Though.
No,
she
no,
did.
in the future it was not.
She was there and she looked older.
That's his new wife, or yeah. I would rewatch that epilogue because that's not her.
Yeah, it's not her making the speech, but it's the same.
Not her,
you're saying it's the same
not her
character,
cousin.
though?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's a strange direction to take it, but I think it adds another layer to the movie. It's just a
older Zofia.
Yeah.
Okay, the Brutalist.
Yeah, why they
the actress was playing like probably her daughter or something. Just like in fucking
something
Vox
like
Lux.
that.
Just did the
exactly.
Same thing with the same actress across both films.
Thank God, because like when I watched, I was locked into it.
There'll be a time skip, and then she'll play the daughter of that character. It's like humans don't create fucking clones of themselves, man, and then transform into somebody completely different after they give birth. You know, that's not how people work. It's not that way, Brady.
Yeah, it takes you out of the movie.
Okay, that was confusing.
I think it was better done in the Brutalist, I think, because
it was more obvious in Vox Lux, I feel.
Exactly. It's like the halfway point and you're like, "Oh shit, wait, what?" Yeah.
So cuz I was going to say that like it would actually have been perfect if the person delivering that speech was a person not directly involved in any of the events of the film.
Mm-hmm.
And like saying that, I would have been like, that's perfect. But
that would have also been interesting. But
yeah, but since it's her character, she's like involved in some of it. But by the time she moves away, like from his life, then a bunch of the bad shit starts happening. So she wasn't like around for all of that. So it's still sort of like, just a big lie facade that they're putting on a show essentially for like these.
And she was such an interesting character because of what she had to go through.
No, yeah, she went through a lot of bad stuff also. Yeah.
Yeah, and like just her silence, and she was never a part of the story. Like it's very easy to forget about her until the end. And then you're like, wait, is this the same character at all? Yeah, I think it's a cool movie.
No, yeah, I mean even just saying like talking about it right now, I'm appreciating it a bit more, and yeah, I'll probably revisit it again someday. It just didn't like.
Yeah, you don't have to be in a rush for it.
Wow, I'm not gonna see it until another couple of years probably, but I mean we'll see. Mm-hmm. We'll see where it sits because this YouTube channel will never end, and we'll keep doing it until I rewatch this one.
Eventually,
yeah,
it doesn't happen often where we are not aligned in score, so
yeah, no. Well, and it's only a 2-point difference. Also, it's a 6 and an 8.
I know it's like not that.
It's like,
it's different.
It's not a Furious 7, okay?
It's not a Furious 7.
Those aren't gonna.
You don't see art. You don't see real. You don't recognize real art when you like I do.
God. Oh my god. I mean, all the viewers need to do is just take the average of our things, and if that's their opinion, then they have a good one.
It's usually a safe bet.
Usually the average is just the same number out of 10, but sometimes it's a little different. So if the viewers give this a 7 out of 10, that means they have good taste.
Right,
was that all? That was all the movies for you, right?
Yeah, because I've got nothing else.
Damn, you didn't watch shit. All right, well,
I didn't.
What about TV? The shows.
Nothing for me.
The show's nothing?
Mm-mm.
All right, well, it's Drew's time to take over this
All right.
YouTube escapade thing. Yeah, I have a small update, I guess, on Star Trek: The Next Generation. I'm on season 3 now. When I first talked about it, I was halfway through season 1, and like, my God, this is like such a vast improvement over the original series, where it just takes that like, I don't even think I explained it last time, but it's like it's actually a situation that's not too dissimilar to the one that you're in right now. And if listeners don't understand that, then go read the YouTube channel description, and then it'll all make sense. Everything will add up. But yeah, like because of that, I guess I'd be curious to see your verdicts on like like how their situation exactly compares to yours. Because it is that matter of like they're exploring space and they're encountering new wacky random things, which serves as a good excuse to like for the writers to sort of flex various sort of sci-fi ideas and concepts out there, with each episode focusing on usually at least one, if not two, sort of different issues that the crew of the Enterprise encounters, because that's the spaceship name. And yeah, it's just solid, man. Like the second half of season 1, I still feel like it was better than anything in season 2. I don't know what people who like the show or are hardcore fans, like what they consider to be the best season or episodes. Like I have no idea. But for me, I feel like the second half of season 1 was really nice. And I expected it to go like more places or just sort of stay on that level. And it's not had like it hasn't taken a massive dip like below that. It's still really good, and just yeah, a nice show. And it's like so much better than the original series. Like I guess maybe have a soft spot for it because I watched it first, and I think it has good moments there in that one. But this one is just a whole lot more consistent and overall better, and like the characters are more well rounded, and I think I said some of that last time, but yeah, it's just overall a better time.
Yeah, I haven't watched in a long time, obviously, but
Right.
I remember really enjoying just the few arcs that I did watch, and it's so immediately iconic. Like I know you started with the original series, but like for the Next Generation being my first foray into Star Trek. It was just immediately iconic and like super recognizable. Like I still can like remember like certain imagery of like the phasers and the uniforms and the ship.
Set that shit to stun.
Yeah, it's just obviously ingrained in culture beyond what I saw personally. But it speaks volumes because of how just great like the original kind of and the popularity of the series is. I'll have to rewatch it, I think.
Oh shit!
It is just it's a good show.
Yeah, as far as
like, there's a reason
episodic
it's this popular.
adventures go, it's I'd say it's up there.
And
it's really nice. And
it's
written.
easy to go on a drought from sci-fi, and like if you need like good sci-fi to watch, like it's definitely got to be one of the best shows.
Yeah, definitely. And then I have two more things here. They're both anime because I just can't help myself with the watching of the animes. They're actually both season sequels of like existing stuff, just continuations of shows. One of them being the 100 Girlfriends Who Really, 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 Really Love You, season 2.
Yes, my
Yeah, you know about this show, right? It's
I've heard of it.
It's yeah, it's a show that exists, and it's like you okay, me as an anime fan, as somebody who has seen, I haven't experimented in like all genres of stuff. I haven't like gone too deep into like the ecchi, or is it ecchi? Ecchi?
Ecchi, I think.
Yeah, I haven't gone too far in that genre of out there anime content, you can call it. And And this season of this fucking show is so out there, and it like I was surprised. I'm like, no other anime has gone to the lengths or the depths that this fucking show has. It's interesting. It's the premise is that like it's a harem anime, so it's one dude and there's a bunch of girls who like him, and usually it's stupid as shit. It's filled with some of the worst animes out there, where it's just pandering, wish fulfillment. I mean, like really, the first thing you think when you hear the term harem attached to it. That's pretty much what all of them are. And this one is probably the best harem anime ever. As a actual show overall, it's not so good. But as a harem anime, it is the pinnacle. It is the best. It is the greatest thing ever. You know what I mean?
It's a low bar to clear.
No,
like,
well, yeah.
It's not a high standard, but
it's super interesting. It
has that going for it.
Yeah, this is only the second season. I don't know if I assume it's a manga rather than a light novel, though it could be a light novel. I have
definitely.
No idea. But yeah, like the premise is that like there's this love god dude, and he is like, I don't know why, but he like determines who is the soulmate of who or something, and he for some reason makes this one dude have 100 of them, and if he doesn't love them all, then they die or something. So he has to have 100 girlfriends, or else they will die. Peter. He's. I mean, as far as harem protagonist goes, he's one of the better ones, definitely, because he's like, just like sort of the nicest guy ever. And is like just ever caring, ever heartful, and just always there for them and everything. It's like the like soulmate thing is like they'll just look at each other and it's basically just like an instant in love sort of thing. We just cut out all of the crap of like leading up to it. Are they going to be a thing or they're not going to be a thing? They are.
No, they are.
Yeah, because it's like the guy. They're not going to do that for fucking 100 times. It's like where they're cutting out all of the bullshit and just filling it with even bigger bullshit. You know what I mean? It's like, so yeah, it's interesting, and it's like all of the harem shows. They're also going to be like whatever girls are involved in the harem. It's just going to be like whatever the dumbest, like most anime archetypal characters you could imagine. And this show just leans that much more into that. Like people who like this show, which there are people who like it and rate it highly. It has an 8.0 on my anime list because it's that good, Peter. It's that good. Definitely. And no, I gave it a score of like half that, even though that's a bit generous. Anyways, they lean into all of that animeisms in like a decent enough way, I guess. And yeah, like it's still super pandering. Like you're not getting out of like the pits that is the problems of a harem anime with this one specifically. But like you're still stuck in that pit, but you're like standing a little bit taller, and like you have a ladder down there or something. You're sort of climbing a couple steps out of, but you're still pretty deep in the pit of shit. Of just it's not a good show, but it's very entertaining, and like just like the what happens in this show is like so out there and just so kind of absolutely wild in this season 2. Like I've never seen anything like it. Like I thought I've seen everything and I can't be surprised by anything, but here's a thing like this.
It's commendable, at least.
Yeah, not good, but like at least it's doing something. Like it's because again, compared to all of the other harem animes, which there's a lot of them, and a lot of them are fairly popular. At least out of all of them, it's decent. Like I don't know, it's better than all of them. It's more competent, even though it still sucks, sort of.
No.
That's the best you could hope for, I guess, with this type of thing.
I've always had a thing against harem animes. It's just like the conflicts that arise are so like awful, in my opinion, that I just never can gel with them. So even if, like you say, it's all played for laughs, like maybe if it's like done in a self-aware enough way,
you would like this. This would be an 8 out of 10
kind of thing,
and then we would disagree on it, and then the people would go
Maybe
wild.
this would be my fast 7
This
for
would be the
harem
Furious
anime.
7 of anime. That's what I'm saying. You gotta check it
Oh,
out. You gotta watch
I
this
guess I
shit.
do,
I mean,
but
honestly,
you never know.
take the
I
dive,
see. That's why I have to watch every single
bro.
bad, quote unquote
No,
bad,
you gotta, yeah, you
like
gotta
thing,
fix the
because
rating
otherwise
system,
you
the
never
average,
know
to get it
when your
down.
next 5-7 is gonna be. Uh,
Yeah, because if you
it's
never
just,
watch bad
there's
movies,
so
you would
many
never put
reasons
Furious
why you have
7
to
high.
watch bad things. It's because either you round up your distribution, or you get to find a hidden gem,
Yeah,
a diamond in
exactly.
the
And
rough.
sometimes the bad things are entertaining. Like it was fun watching this.
Yes.
Like definitely, I didn't regret it or anything. Like
Hmm.
it was super worth my time and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, it's just a weird and out there thing. I was gonna say someone else too, but I forget. So
Yeah.
whatever. It is a show that
Any other
exists.
anime that you were watching?
Oh yeah. It was also a season continuation thing of Doctor Stone. This
Mm,
season particularly being Science Future. Did you ever read this manga?
I did. I
Okay.
did.
Yeah. It finished last year or two. No, probably 2 or 3 years ago.
Probably 2 to 3 years ago now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I probably should have read the manga for this. Like
Hmm.
instead of just watching it in general, or at least after watching the first or the second season. I think this one's the fourth. Um, because it's the type of story that I feel like is probably best read in manga form rather than watching it, because it's one where like there's the planet Earth and people are living it on it, okay, and then the whole world basically freezes over in stone where everybody turns to stone, and then slowly one by one certain people start coming back after like I don't remember, like thousands of years of just like
Yeah.
being imprisoned in that shit. And like the world has been taken over by like animals and all like the human made things that are like you know run over by nature essentially. And so there's sort of like a world reset. And the protagonist is this dude Senku, who's like the science genius dude who's sort of eventually leads like this revolution of like we're going back to the futuristic technologies and like introducing all this kind of cool stuff. And yeah, it's that type of manga that's probably better read rather than watched, because it has like a lot of diagrams when he's
A
sort of
ton.
explaining or
Yeah.
going over like scientific concepts and stuff, where it's probably better to just like soak it in on your own time rather than just like having it in the anime the whatever runtime of things going about. But like still as a show, it's decent overall, and I did like this season of it. I thought it was a nice return, because I needed a palate cleanser after the bullshit that was the 100 Girlfriend stuff. And this
Mm-hmm.
is an actually good story. I would say there's, I guess, flaws within it. Some people don't like the fact where it's like it seems like conflict sort of end too easily, and I sort of agree with that. And it's more apparent in, I feel like, other seasons of this. Like if I think like season 2 was sort of more like that. Actually, is this the 5th season? I gotta check. I have no idea. I think no, this is 4. Never mind then. Or is it? I can't tell. I have no idea. My anime list sucks.
Hmm.
My anime list is bad at saying like, here's all the show things of the show,
Yeah.
like all the seasons of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
It's not a great. It's not one of the best
yeah,
aggregation
it's a step up
sites,
from
but it is like
Goodreads,
the only one.
but it's
Hmm.
still a matter of like, this
Exactly.
is what we have. you know.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Anyways, but yeah, I would recommend reading it as a person who hasn't read it. I've just watched it, but I still enjoyed it, and it was nice. Just sort of going back, like it's nice watching a series of a show, and then just like however long, like a year or two goes by, and then like you're back in the middle of the shit, and it's like, oh yeah, there were these characters, and this was the group dynamics or whatever. And it was just nice getting to float back into Doctor Stone City for at least a little bit there.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah. I read it, and I think the story is whatever. I think it loses steam in the latter half, but the world is a lot of fun,
yeah,
and the puzzle solving and like the world building and like the civilization building
yeah,
that you get to experience along with your protagonist is a lot of fun. reading it especially is nice because the art's great.
Yeah, the art style is
Koichi
one of my
did,
favorites.
yeah, and he's a fantastic artist, and it works really well. And the story is just, all done really well. So yeah, really, very accomplished manga. Um, Despite the problems that I have with the story, I think it's still
Sure.
definitely a cool one to check out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I've ever watched any of the mangas though, or watched any of the animes.
No, yeah. Yeah, it's it's decent, but it's probably better
hmm
read, which I mean goes for most anime productions, with the exceptions of like the super uh, animate up, like the Jujutsu Kaisens, the Mob Psycho 100s, the Demon Slayers. You know what I mean? Like the
hmm
animation is a key component of the stuff going on, and also like I mean those specifically, the visuals in the anime are better than those in the manga. Meanwhile, manga tends to be more like consistent. Those are just sort of the exceptions. And also the Mob Psycho one doesn't have the best webcomic art, so it's more feasible to like amp it up in the anime form, I guess.
hmm
But yeah,
All right, shall I start talking about some video games?
yeah. I only have
Some
one
video
thing this
games.
time around.
I've got a couple, so I can start
Start
us
us
off.
off, Pete.
After I finished, with all of the Remedy games, I wanted to check out, a smaller title that I could just, you know, finish pretty quickly. So I checked out the game I Am Your Beast, which is an indie title that dropped last year, I think. My first introduction to it was through a video game donkey,
Oh,
uh,
really?
you know, video, and it seemed very interesting. I didn't really know much about it when I got it because I received it from a friend as a gift,
Oh,
and
really?
so it was sitting in my Steam library up until now. I was like, what, I should do this. I have a feeling I'm gonna like it, and lo and behold, I did indeed enjoy it. It's really interesting. It's like a very similar to the Neon White game that I talked about
Oh,
a while
okay.
ago, where it's that kind of speed running game, but you're mixing it in with combat, because essentially it's not very clear. It's a pretty indie title, so the story is all done through voice acted, um, like it's all through voice action. There's some like subtitles that accompany the dialogue, but a lot of the story is told in these little short cutscenes of dialogue, and so the rest of the gameplay is you're I don't know. It seems like part animal, part man, trained in tactical combat, and your general or corporal or whatever is being like, "We need you to come back for one more mission," and you're like, "No," and then they're like, "We'll kill you and your entire like
Bruh.
forest because you're like a I don't know, a part beast of some sort,"
Hmm.
and you're like, "No, don't do that. I'll kill all of you," and so you kill all of them,
Oh, dang.
and each kind of level there's however many enemies, from like 5 to 20 or whatever, and the map design is set up in such a way where there's point A, point B, you get there, but you have to kill, or you have to avoid these enemies, or you have to do whatever kind of you know checkpoint you have to do in order to get through it. And it's a lot of fun just because of the actual movement and combat system is so fluid. It is very similar to Neon White, as I talked about, and where there's something so immediately tactile about the controls that just makes you feel good playing it. The guns that you get to and all the weapons are like really punchy and tactile, and really like effective. That they just seem like as like a extension of your controls. There's very little jank. It seems very skill based, and it's fun trying to get the best times that you can. It's hard, like if you're trying to get like the S rank on each of the levels by doing
Mm-hmm.
it the fastest. It's going to take you a decent amount of time. I'd say it's probably even harder than Neon White to get like the hardest times. But I think it's worth it. It's definitely a short title, but I think it's, if you're ever looking for that kind of, slick experience, I would recommend it. Definitely a fun one.
Yeah, cool. I've pretty much watched all of Donkey's videos, so I've almost certainly have seen the one where he covers this. I've just forgotten about it completely. But yeah,
it's just a short one.
Yeah, yeah, like a 5-hour sort of venture or something. Or
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's cool. How many things do you have in total for the games section?
Just one more.
Okay. I will do my thing. So I was playing Fire Emblem Birthright, which I finished. And then just today I finished Conquest. And yeah, like when I first played these games in 2015, like I couldn't really tell much of a difference in quality in really anything in the gameplay and story, whatever. But yeah, like after coming back to it now, like Conquest definitely as a video game is much more solid. Like it's difficult sometimes, to the point where it sort of bothers me. But it's still like much more enjoyable, and it's like I feel like I'm getting sort of more out of that, because like Birthright eventually it just sort of like fucking you just get in the I don't know, some sort of groove
It's
loop
a slog,
thing
yeah,
of like it's like less of a challenge. Like there's some I guess difficulty spikes near the end, sort of. But for the most part, it's like it's just a little bit more mindless, like even on hard mode.
It's just like clear this objective and do this thing, and yeah.
Yeah, and then meanwhile in Conquest, I'm like fighting for my fucking life. Like chapter 10 on that game. Do you remember what that one was? It's the one where you have to defend and the Takumi and his retainers, and it's
I remember Takumi being an absolute bitch.
You have to survive for 13 turns.
Yeah,
And defend that area. That shit.
The
They
different
just throw
objectives
like fucking
were
500
always
enemies
hard.
at you.
Yeah. Any of the objectives where
chapter 10.
any of the objectives where you didn't have to just like rob the enemy, it took a lot more, like definitely a lot more thinking, and tactical planning. But that's nice. Like that's why I play those kind of games. It's like, so I have to engage with the systems and kind of min-max or prepare for certain encounters.
No, yeah, exactly.
It's definitely another bonus that Conquest has going for it.
Yeah, and the class system is pretty cool as well. I mean, I think I mentioned it a little bit last time, but it's probably, as far as class systems go in Fire Emblem, it's maybe my favorite. Like Engage has a little bit more like other things going on, I guess, like with the emblems and stuff. But like, yeah, it's just cool and like fun character building of like, who am I gonna pair with who? Like maybe if you're into shipping or whatever, for like the romance angle of that, but also like in terms of gameplay, like you got all of that combinations of like they get this class from this character, and if they get best friend rank with this person, then they can also get someone else. So it's fun, I guess, theory crafting, planning out, and then like executing it. At least for me, that's sort of what
having
I did.
children is always like such an interesting element to a Fire Emblem game, because it does add a lot of like build potential and build expression, because you have a lot more combinations that you can make.
No, yeah, the Fates children is interesting because in Awakening they're sort of OP, and then Fates' design philosophy, which some of this I don't really like. But their philosophy coming into Fates, I feel like, is like, we're going to take pretty much everything that existed in Awakening, but we're just going to nerf everything, sort of. Which I'm mostly fine with, because like Pair-Up was OP, and I enjoyed the change they made to that specifically, where it's like, there's just more strategy and less randomness, which is reflecting in the game in total, because like Awakening was more about like increasing or decreasing like the odds of stuff. Or like damage coming from like more percentage based things, or like the skill activations. There was more emphasis on those, and like crit based builds were more viable in Awakening. And in Fates, they're amongst the like community of like various YouTubers who I was watching videos for while playing these games and before playing these games. They were emphasized much more heavily that it's not a crit based game, they're bad, don't go for them or whatever, even though they're kind of fun still. Yeah, where it's more like just like being more consistent in damage, and then also the when you're paired up, you get the gauge that builds up over time rather than awakening it just being kind of random, which is silly. And then that versus the attack stance where you're not paired up. And yeah, it's just solid overall in those ways. And like, yeah, the child units is interesting too, because they're like not OP at all, and they require like at least a little bit of planning going into them, because it just adds another layer of like, who do I pair people up with. But again, like the YouTubers who make Fates content in the modern day, they almost don't really talk about the child units much, because there's just like kind of so much like going on and so much like variability with them. Like they mostly just focused on the adult characters and like what you could do with them, because like even though it's overall more limiting than the potential of the child units, it's that makes them more definable and like consistent across runs of the game. So I understand why they do that, though. Using the child units is fun too, I gotta say, even if some of the characters are not too great. Like I used Nina in the last run of things. Her supports are ass, dude.
It's so bad.
Like
it's so cringe.
And I know people don't like Soleil also for good reasons to dislike her.
And they're both in the same game. It's like, ooh, wow.
No, I know. Yeah, same game, same route. I don't know if they support each other, but that's got to be the worst conversation ever. Oh, they do.
Yep.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Let's get the two worst characters in a room. Talk it out.
Fates always, I think, probably has my least favorite roster of characters in general. Mixed with my, like, obviously Conquest has maybe my favorite gameplay, so it's tough because
like in terms of characters, you like them the least.
Yeah,
character personality-wise.
I think there are obviously some good ones, but I think overall, I think the roster is my least favorite.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Engage is my least favorite, which I feel like is a fair take.
Engage is up there too.
Yeah, like I think the Fates support conversations are a little bit more consistent than Engage's. Engage has some good ones, though most of the good conversations don't happen until like the later ranks, where Fates' ones, and I mean that's sort of true in all of Fire Emblem, but I feel like especially for that game. And then I feel like Fates is a little bit more consistent. Yeah, what?
There's just a lot less, I don't know, like, realness. Like, it's all very, like, played for laughs or kind of...
In which one?
Less both? Serious. In both, but mostly Engaged. Like, I'll give it to, Fates. Fates is, some of the supports are a little more, grounded in, the world and more representative of the characters.
Yeah, the very few.
But a lot of the supports in Engage and Fates are still like the characters are so one note and flat. Like it's just trope talking to trope, and it's like the least engaging dialogue of all time for like 3 rounds. Like I don't care.
But if you talk to them the 4th time, you're married.
Yeah, in some games. As what happens.
That's how it goes.
Yeah, but man,
there's missed potential sort of across the series, I guess, like in that aspect of it. Because when I'm like playing these games for the first time when I'm 12 or 13 or whatever, like Awakening, like I'm not giving a shit about that. Like I'm just like going in and like being like, oh my god, I could get married in a video game. That's
Awakening was your first game, and then Fates
for me that I played.
Okay. Yeah.
I joined the series at Awakening like many, like millions of fans, and then you started at the fucking gacha game somehow.
Yep. It's interesting to hear you, discuss that playing, when you did Birthrights and Conquest.
It was a cool ass time interchangeable. To be around.
It's like they were just like, more or less interchangeable for you, but coming back after having experienced more of the Fire Emblem games.
I mean, it's literally night and day. You know what I mean? Like, except this time
they really made you, understand. Rising sun, dawn, dusk. It's like, come on.
Oh my god, I think that's significant to the story. Speaking of which, both of them fucking suck like so much. Conquest, like, it does have a worse story. Like, because I don't know if it's more correct to say that like Birthright has a better story or Conquest has a worse story.
Birthright has a better story.
Like those are
Birthright has a better story.
Those two things.
But worse gameplay.
well, yeah, but like those two things mean the same thing. Birthright has a better story. Conquest has a worse story.
Yes, I
This
guess.
both mean the
They're
same
very.
thing, but I don't know which is more correct to say because it's like
That's true.
neither of them are good. You know what I mean?
Neither of them are particularly good. Yeah.
But like,
I
it's not even worth talking about it. But I want to say it anyways. Like it's just like Conquest especially. It's like the protagonist is such like they're so annoying. Corrin is such an idiot. And like every decision that they're making and every single character who they're allied with, every like decision that they're making, it's like I feel like this is the worst thing you could do.
The
All the
entire
deaths that
conflict
happen
is
in this
just
story,
so
yeah,
exact.
yeah, all the deaths
All the
that happen in the
conflict.
fucking in the story
Yeah.
are so bad. Like it's the most laughable shit
Yeah.
out there. Like it just doesn't come together in like any way because it's like we're fighting this entire war for this dude who's obviously very evil. Like not even like oh in hindsight he's evil, but the characters can't say because it's like they're all like the siblings and like they've been raised essentially by this dude who's evil, and in that type of situation you would be indoctrinated into thinking oh this is good, this is normal, this is whoever, and then the characters would learn somehow outside of that like oh they're actually bad, which is sort of what the Branch of Fate, the first 5 chapters, is supposed to be, sort of where like oh Garen maybe actually does some bad things because of the war and he's evil, but like it's so fucking obvious, and also the characters who are his children are super aware of that, and they're just like don't get him pissed off or he'll fucking kill you, and it's like do we have to stand for this man or could we just end it all like right here? We don't want to fight the war. Everybody's just going to listen to what Corrin has to say anyways. Do we really have to fucking dawdle around for 20 more chapters to like figure it out? It's like no, it's but whatever. The story is the story, and it created the beautiful game that is Fire Emblem Fates Conquest, in all of its gameplay glory. Not
That you
story.
can appreciate regardless of some of its shortcomings.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Or the value that you find in others.
Yeah, and like a lot of the maps are good and like have unique gimmicks that are cool and like make each chapter different. Even if I'm playing, say, Birthright and Conquest back to back, where they reuse a lot of the same like overall maps, but there's differences in the objectives and which enemies are being thrown at your way, and stuff like that. And also, it's just really nice looking. Like it's a really nice looking 3DS game. Like I love the on the like
sprites
in combat,
pixel
the
art.
sprites, like the
it's all good.
and the like the maps it's really nice the way they look. I think.
Yeah.
And yeah, the characters, I would say they're decent overall. I enjoyed like some of the support conversations, but yeah, like none of them really like stick out at me at all. I mean, Three Houses has the advantage of, for one, having good character writing, but also it's fully voiced and the voice acting is good in those, so it sort of like creates. I would say that helps contribute to more memorable characters. Obviously, the bigger part is that they're actually written in like they're real characters rather than more gimmicks. Which I would say Engage leans more into that than Fates does for support conversations, but for Fates it's still definitely that way. And yeah, like I mean for Fire Emblem in general, I prefer them more as when I look at the characters or the cast, I prefer them more as combat units rather than characters with unique personalities.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're like
soldiers,
what makes them unique
or whatever.
to like compared to like all the rest of the cast. And I think Engage succeeds at that the most, despite failing in the other aspects. Also the most. And then Fire Emblem Fates, it's like sort of one step above and below, respectively. You know what I mean? Where it's like the like character differences and like the whatever, like as combat units, I like slightly less as Engage, but the actual personality character writing to them is like slightly better, if that makes sense. And like Three Houses is the complete inverse of that, where it's like I prefer them as the personality characters and like as combat units, like whatever, they're all the fucking same. They're all the same. Just use except just some of them are straight up better than others. Just use Lysithea and Felix and Catherine,
like,
if you're allowed to.
Sometimes it's all genetic, and your growths are gonna be the character that you want. It's like it is what it is.
Yeah, but that game's weird. And these games are better as video games, I think. So going back to this, Fates was really cool. I will play Revelation in maybe a month or two. I'm giving it a little bit.
Yeah,
I'm like out of it. I'm
give it a little bit.
I wanted to this happens sort of for most Fire Emblem games where I like get like a little burnout or just like start to hit the start of it, and I feel like they end at just a point where I'm like, I'm good. I don't need to touch this for a little bit, and then I'll be back into it. And that's like sort of how I feel right now, though. I'm like, well, I still like have the story fresh in my mind, but mostly just like the gameplay and like what characters I want to use or not use in the next route that I play. I will go for that in all of its unbalanced mess of a game, supposedly, from what I'm understanding from the YouTubers whose opinions I value. But that, Conquest is considered the best out of the three in terms of being an actual video game, which I understand after having played it, because it was cool. Going back to both of these.
Yeah, good to hear. On my end, I decided to check out a little known indie game called The Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim. So okay. It's very convenient because at the time of recording this, The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion was just
released for
very
the first
quickly.
Time after 5.
They remastered it, and so everyone was all up in arms about, oh wow, a new Elder Scrolls essentially for a lot of people because many people haven't played it, including myself. But coincidentally, like a few days before that announcement came out, I had without knowing what was going to come down the line, I decided to play Skyrim because I wanted to. Like, I was looking through games that I kind of wanted to check out, and I'm like, man, I haven't played this in over 10 years now.
Oh, okay.
And it was one of my favorite games of all time. I spent so much time with it on like the 360 and all that. And it's something that I've always wanted to go back to. And so playing again now makes it incredibly interesting just because it's obviously something I haven't come back to in a decade. I don't remember much of it, but I played like, I don't know, many hundreds of hours, like probably over 300, just playing the same game over and over because it was one of the only games that I had on the Xbox 360. So I remember vividly like moments and like certain dungeons and quest lines, but a lot of the game, like I just never played. I think I only ever beat the game once in like 300 hours worth of playing because I would just restart it over and over and over. Yeah. Because like the thing about the Elder Scrolls games and like how like uniquely they are presented to you is like the freedom of the worlds that they create is like, yeah, you could do whatever. Once you get past like the tutorial area, right, do whatever you want. The world is going to level to you and you can grow and still have like a complete experience if you completely ignore the main quest, because you could just do all like the different guild quest lines or just clear a bunch of dungeons, which will the way that they sprinkle stories throughout the environment and the different world locations is really unique and immersive in a way that many games find it difficult to do. Like, despite all this time, it's what 15 years since the Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim first released or somewhat, and still there's no game quite like it since then. Exactly. Like they can continue to re-release it because what's the competition? Like, there's not a ton of games that can be compared to Skyrim for whatever reason. It's just like it's such a unique experience that gripped the entire world by storm. It's become a runaway success, and with everything that entails, the core game is just so much fun. Although now that I'm able to play on PC, I get to do something that I could never do on Xbox 360, which is
nude mods.
Mod the shit out of it. Yeah, exactly. It's
exactly.
The nude mods. I just did it all. Yeah, exactly. But I am, in fact, modding the shit out of it, like completely changing. Like, the combat system was always, take it or leave it, very bare bones,
sure.
Serviceable, but there's a lot of depth that it is lacking because it came out so long ago now. so that's what mods are for. If the you know your if the visuals aren't enough for you because it comes from 2011, just get better visuals. Just download them online, and they're free, and it just makes the game better. There are like quest fixes, bug fixes. There are new quests, new like companions, new locations to check out, new weapons, new armor, whatever, anything you want. It's online. You could like it's
Thomas
you could just play a completely different game
or whatever.
Yeah, I'm. Yep. There's. Skyrim's modding community has a reputation.
It probably has
itself.
like if I had to guess,
Without a
which
doubt,
game has the most mods,
yeah.
probably Skyrim.
Yeah, I think for sure, and it's the biggest community kind of centered around that. And I don't know what it is about it, but the community helps to give this game eternal life. Like I don't know if it'll ever die. I think whenever the next Elder Scrolls eventually releases, I don't think it will ever be I don't think it's comparable. I think Skyrim was such a unique game that I know people are loving Oblivion now that it has been released, and I'm definitely gonna have to check that out now because it is very timely for me to
No, that's such a wild coincidence. Right after you started replaying this,
insane.
It's like, oh, it's the next game.
It's like, well, I might have to get myself that game, but Skyrim is enough for me right now, especially modding it into a state that is like hardly recognizable to me. There are obviously, the core quests and moments I definitely remember just because I drilled that shit into my brain. I must have started probably 20 different characters over the course of 300 hours and never finished. I finished once. But it's something about the game and the game design that makes the world of Skyrim so just immersive and like fun to explore. Just like do whatever you want around. It's very, like I said, it's a unique game. Did you ever play it?
I've played it for about I think 20-some hours on Steam. I am meaning to go back to it. It's been like a thing for a couple of years now, but yeah, I got to the point where I was building a house and I had built it sort of, so, and I stopped after that.
It took me a while to get to that, and because also on 360 I never got to play any of the DLC, so there was now even more content for me.
In the original.
No, it's not.
Well, I'd looked up guides because it's at that point of the internet, so I'm like, I know you can build a house, so I'm like, oh, how do I do that? And so I did that. But that's I saw that you were playing it on Steam, and I thought it was like a poor man's cope of I have Oblivion remastered at home.
No, it's I actually started before the announcement
that's
came.
crazy.
I was like, because I will have to play Oblivion. It's I've been meaning to, because I love Skyrim so much. I like Bethesda's games. I love all the Fallout games. I played all of the Fallout games, but I never got around to playing any of the Elder Scrolls games. So a remake is a very good excuse to check out that game again.
The Oblivion remaster, it seems cool, and the people are loving it or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. It seems like it's, the second Skyrim for a lot of people.
Right.
People love Skyrim, but never got to play any of the other ones, and so now it's the next Elder Scrolls games, essentially.
I played 4 hours of Morrowind, and it was the biggest turd I've ever stepped in. It was really cool and unique, and you could see where certain aspects of Skyrim comes from, and with the NPC interaction and their scheduling and stuff like that was cool. But yeah, it just plays absolute ass.
Dog, it's old as fuck.
Yeah, and Skyrim's janky also, a little bit, but at least it feels more functional, like a video game. I was able to play it and get into it more. And I want to get back into it eventually. And then were you Stormcloaks or the other, whatever the other group is called? The
Empire.
The Empire.
Always. Yeah, long live the Empire.
Empire always?
Yep. Always.
Why? As a guy who doesn't know the discussion, but for some reason Skyrim players really care about that debate. So I was just curious.
I do. I mean, I like engaging with the Elder Scrolls lore. I think it's a cool world.
Yeah.
And I like the idea of the Empire. And it's the Thalmor are really the problem. The elves, those damn elves. So I think the Empire is better
We need to
equipped
kill
to
them
face the
all.
elves when they eventually re-invade. Because right now they have the peace treaty with the elves, but you know
You
that
know how
it's
elves are. They
you know
don't. They
how
know that they're
elves
gonna
are.
outlive us, and some other humans are gonna live, but they're not gonna forget because they're the same people 600 years from
And
now.
yeah, that it's so
The
weird that the elves in the elder like in the
Elder
Elder
shows are
Scrolls
violent.
universe are just like, well, yeah, they're like genocidal and like
Goddamn.
uh severely eugenics coded, like they're all about blood purity and they're
uh,
essentially yeah, like
Interesting.
they're bad. They're the bad people. The elves are not good.
But it's
Um,
good that excuse me, at least in like different mediums of fiction, the
yeah.
fantasy
No,
tropes
I've
are like
always liked
they're not the
the
exact copy paste.
yeah, I've always liked the Elder Scrolls. It's definitely part of the reason why I love the game so much and like can spend so much time in a game like Skyrim is because it's engaging. Like I love the idea that all the different elves, but also the dwarves and orcs, they're all the same kind of race of Mer. Um, and it's a unique take because normally the dwarves are the short beard people,
Hmm.
but instead, what if they were an underground race of elves that have disappeared long ago?
Hmm.
It's those kind of unique takes on a fantasy world that I think set the world of the Elder Scrolls apart. Along with like, there's so much extensive history. There's like, I don't know, probably over 100,000 hours of Skyrim lore content or like Elder Scrolls lore content on YouTube or on the internet, and it's a lot of depth there to be able to read into the history of an entire world.
Hmm.
Uh, just serves that immersion again.
Yeah, I'll play
But
that game eventually, again
yeah,
at some point, definitely, or at least
eventually.
that's the plan. Who
But
knows? I have to play
that
Persona
takes
3. The answer.
yeah, you do, and that'll be a because how are you gonna play that? Are
On
you just
PS5
doing it
through
through
Reload.
PS? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. When does that drop?
it has already.
It already
It,
has.
it
Okay.
was released. I mean, probably last year at some point.
Okay. But you just never got around
No, well, because it wasn't released when I was first
when
playing
you
it,
first when it
and
released
then
it.
it
Yeah.
was like it was so expensive because it was like half the fucking
Mm,
game. Because you could only buy it within this DLC bundle
damn.
that was $30 or $40 or
Mm-hmm.
some shit. And it would like never go on sale. So like only recently was I able to buy it on like a somewhat normal price of like at least less than 20. So like maybe 15 or so, but probably more like it's probably still closer to 20 anyways, but
It's so whack. I Persona 3 specifically has such a hard time of getting like a definitive version
yeah.
that has like all
Oh
of
yeah.
the
I would say
experience that you
Reload is
want
the
in
most
one game.
definitive, but it's really more of just like
Yes.
an adaptate or like a newer version of FES because it still has
Right.
all of the
Yeah.
portable unique stuff is absent, but like the portable also exists on all of the newer systems. It's like on Steam and stuff
Hmm.
because it was re-released for that. So at least like if you are missing out, you could go play that and just do the female route and go from there. I guess it's like yeah,
Yeah.
but
It's
yeah, it would have been
and
nice if it was just like also part of the new experience of like the female protagonist option and like all the differences that encompass that because it's like kind of a big deal.
would be really cool.
Yeah, it would have been nice, but the Atlas was like, no, we hate women. Or I guess that's really what they are. They're misogynists
I
for
don't,
not taking another 10 years to add in the another route, which changes a bunch of the character interaction and needs new voice dialogue written and voiced.
hmm.
So those lazy
All right.
misogynists over at Atlas, I'm not supporting a thing of theirs ever. Not even in the next episode. Definitely.
No, definitely not.
All right. The
Um,
music section with starring Peter.
Indeed, the music section. Um, so some good releases. It's been a strong year of music. Skrillex, classic EDM, dubstep artist, released "Fuck You, Skrillex. You think you're Andy Warhol, but you're not." Kind of a weird project from him. It's definitely more experimental, almost in a mixtape fashion, like a bunch of there's like 30 different tracks, and they're all like 1 to 2 minutes. Makes for like a really kinetic, propulsive listen. A lot of energy, a lot of great drops. Really cool production. Just very creative project from him with a bunch of like a list of features and different producers that he puts on. It's cool to see him, with all the success he got, whatever 8 years ago. He's kind of built up a cool network of putting on younger artists or more interesting underground artists. I would check it out if you like, EDM, dubstep type music. Another album from Bon Iver, their first in a while, Sable Fable. Really, really loving this album. It's, really gentle, kind of indie folk along with more pop-centric stuff. Just great production and songwriting. They really don't miss. Album from Quickly Quickly called I Heard That Noise. He's mostly known for doing more instrumental, like lo-fi hip-hop type, jazzy kind of instrumental stuff. But this album that he dropped is more of a singer-songwriter and kind of folksy avenue. It's really interesting. I liked it quite a lot. There's a lot of, heart in it, and I think the production is really cool. A lot of good songs on it. New album from Natalia Lafourcade called Canzoniera. It's just an excellent kind of really classical Mexican music. Really wonderful guitar tones and production throughout. Natalia's vocals are just fantastic and suit all of the production that is chosen, and all the instrumentation that they use. It's just a really beautiful and ornate listen, really detailed and really warm and authentic. Album from DJ Rum, Under Tangled Silence, is a interesting electronic album. Really kind of propulsive beats, like very detailed and staccato wick. I don't know how to say that, but there's like a very interesting rhythm throughout this entire album, along with spacier kind of electronic production. Really interesting listen, which is very similar to the new album from Barker, Stochastic Drift. Much more spacey in the song structures and kind of warped, more techno-based electronic stuff. Less detailed drums, but still very cool and kind of spacey listen. New album from Model Actress called Pirouette. They do really interesting, dark kind of post-punk, punk dance music. It's a strange kind of genre fusion that like serves up some pretty haunted songs that are really energetic and punchy, but twisted by like a weird gothic vibe. Very self-effacing and kind of coy and a little evil, like kind of dark music, but it's really fun, and the production is really interesting. Very I don't know, it's like Halloween type music, but if you like heard it in the club or something like that. Very interesting stuff. Car Seat Headrest also released a new album after a while
Car
called
Seat
The Scholars.
Headrest is the name of the artist.
Yeah, yep.
These people
And
be
they,
naming themselves after anything these days.
they are a pretty well-known indie darling kind of indie rock band that got started a while ago, fronted by Will Toledo. And this new album has them at their most experimental, I'd say. Super grand stuff, like long, 10-minute long songs, some of them. just like really operatic and sprawling, really fun. The actual like playing, I think, is done really well. All of the instrumentals and the solos and how well they blend over the course of like some 15-minute jam-packed. I think the longest song on the album is 18 minutes, and to have to balance all of the necessary changes that a song has to go through over the course of that long in order to keep you engaged is always a
Yeah.
challenge. And so I think they pull it off pretty well. It's definitely more in line with your classic rock style type of instrumentation, but definitely more experimental and more avant-garde in the structure and the songwriting. Definitely worth checking out. And then finally, the new album from Jenny Fall, called Iris Silver Mist. She does some really beautiful, kind of spacey art pop, and this newest album from her is no exception. Just really lovely instrumentations, very spacey, but also still has that pop backbone that keeps everything pretty catchy. Definitely some more avant-garde song structures, but I think it flows really well as an album, and all the songwriting is also great. It's one of my favorite albums from her at this point, and I'm already, a pretty big fan. I think she's pretty consistent. But that takes us to the end of the musics for this week,
Yeah, nice.
or month, or whatever it was.
Iris Silver Mist is also a perfume.
It is, and she's
Right, look it up.
the whole album is kind of inspired by her love of perfume. So there's a lot of interesting,
Interesting.
lyrics that deal with different aspects of perfuming and fragrances and aromas.
Is Iris
It's
Silver Mist a particular brand or like a branded thing just for one brand only makes it, or do like a bunch of
I
different
have no idea.
groups like get to get like I'm not very knowledgeable on the perfume world. If you
I'm not too certain about Irish Silver Mist specifically, but I do appreciate some cool
Hey,
colognes or
there we go.
perfumes. So
Yeah. I got nothing on music. I have been listening to slowly eating away at the Peter Grandmaster playlist number 2.
of course, yeah.
Which I don't have notes for who I was listening to yet. I didn't organize it for this episode, but maybe by next time I'll have a person or two to bring
Okay,
up.
okay.
So yeah, until then, people take everything that Peter just mentioned and listen to it. I will do the same in 20 years, but I'll meet you
Yes.
guys there eventually.
When he finally catches up with the recommendations. Yes.
I gotta catch up. I binge listening to Peter's music. I can't just get to the present immediately. I gotta build my way up to it. Okay. I
Exactly.
do things in chronological order of when it was released, and in this context, it's when Peter added them to his liked playlists.
And that's just how it has to be.
Is the chronology. So that's the way I'm tackling it. Okay. And if you want to hate on that, then so be it. Come at me for listening to all of Peter's fucking playlists. 10,000
Yeah.
hours. But yeah, books are also a thing that we look at and comprehend sometimes. And I have one thing. You have, I assume, Naked Lunch, and then anything else.
Yeah, a couple. Just one more that I can
Okay.
discuss.
Why don't you start us off here then?
All right. I started reading the newest book from Suzanne Collins for book club. That would be Sunrise on the Reaping. And Suzanne Collins is obviously known for the Hunger Games novels. And so Sunrise on the Reaping is the newest prequel, which tells of Haymitch's
Oh,
story
interesting.
and his first and, greatest Hunger Games appearance. And it was good. I think it felt very similar to, the books that I read however long ago now. It's very
Right.
nostalgic in that way. A lot of obviously it's the same world, so you're gonna have the same kind of scenarios brought up, especially because you're dealing with the same event, that being the Hunger Games. So it's not super original in that way, but it's still an enjoyable read to kind of delve back into the world that Suzanne Collins wrote, because it really took the world by storm, and it was interesting to see how and why that took place and where it went to from then. You know, create basically creating like an entire wave of dystopian
No, yeah,
YA themed
definitely.
books and media properties that kind of took the world by storm.
Yeah, super
Um,
influential for those string of years in the mid
yeah, and they had
2010s.
the movies, which everyone watched, and some of them are pretty good. And the books are the same way. I still
Hmm.
never really liked the third one, but I watched the more recent Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes movie. Didn't read that
That's a
one, but
different
the movie was
prequel to
decent.
this
Yes, exactly.
book.
That's
Was
President
that based on a book
Snow's.
also, or was that just its own
Yes,
thing?
yep.
Okay.
So there are two prequel books and going to be two prequel movies. One of them have already been
Okay.
filmed, and then they've already announced that they're going to adapt
Yeah.
Sunrise on Reaping.
Interesting.
Um, and yeah, like I said, it's not the greatest book I've ever read, but it's entertaining for, being able to jump back into this world. This, it's still interesting to kind of see the culture and like the dystopian aspect of a power structure gone wrong,
Hmm.
and how, you have to, the revolutionaries essentially are born, and how they have to combat the system that is, in power. And that makes it an engaging read. Besides, however, I guess familiar it is to the books that I've already read from the same series.
Yeah, no, it's also been a minute since I've read those books, which I probably didn't even really like fully read them. I just sort of skimmed or like did this weird like zoning out, zone back in. Oh, I just read 3 pages, but not really. I just looked at them, but now I'm focusing again, and I'm on a paragraph where I don't know what's happening, like that sort of thing, just like 50 times for the entire book of it. And yeah, the Hunger Games, it's like the movies are decent. I've revisited those a couple years ago. They have their moments here and there. I like
Yeah,
Philip Seymour
yeah.
Hoffman. I feel like he
Hmm.
sort of steals the show, and then everything else is kind of like, like
Yeah.
whatever. Um, and yeah, I don't know if I'll ever hit these. I mean, you had to for book club that
Hmm.
someone else forced you to because they like it, which is perfectly fine. I mean, it's got a 4.6 on Goodreads, so truly that means it's a
Jesus
banger.
Christ. Oh my
Do you
God.
disagree with that, Peter? What do you mean?
I fucking
Not a
hey, I'll
4.6?
I'll discuss the rating that everyone has for the next book I'll talk about.
Okay.
Because the yeah
Oh no. Okay.
the
Okay.
dichotomy between
Yeah.
book ratings
Right.
with certain, I know,
Versus what's
there are
actually
different
good, as
audiences.
determined
There
by
are
us.
different
What's
audiences.
actually good. Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
or I guess the wider popular lexicon, whatever. But
Hmm.
it is what it is.
Yeah. Um, I have a minor update on a Black Clover.
Mm.
When I talked about it, what like 2 or 3 months ago, something. It wasn't directly last episode. I don't think it was slightly before, but I was reading a decent amount during that, and then like I haven't read much in the previous month since then. But for the past couple of weeks, I've been doing some more of it. And it's a pretty easy manga to just like go in and go out, which like isn't exactly a good thing necessarily. Where it's like you don't have to be fully invested or like remembering like every little thing that's going on because there's not necessarily a whole lot really going on to it in general. Um, like, but there have been moments since I last talked about it where it's where it's nice. I guess it has moments that like remind me of other things that are more consistently good, and I'm like, oh, that was a real thing that I sort of felt something. It was like a surprise or like a good thing occurred in some way, and then stuff like that just gets followed up with like the most like the dumbest backstory I've like ever encountered in like one of these shonen battle things where it's like, because like I mean the backstory specifically, it's like a really hard thing to balance because you have to, like, if you want it to be done perfectly, you have to, and if you want it to be done during a fight, because they often are, like done during the fights, like whether it's a antagonist or somebody allying with the protagonist side of like whatever thing is happening, they usually have to like take place during a particular part of that fight, structured in such a way where like not only is the backstory decent enough on its own, but it also contextualizes and like matches up with the themes of what the arc is, and specifically the current fight they're situated in. You know what I mean? And like that's really tough to do, I think, as far as these shonen battle mangas, what they try to accomplish. Like very few of them are able to nail those, and Black Clover doesn't necessarily get there in maybe any of its pillars, for like I'd say a good chunk of them, because yeah, there's been some where it's just it's like confusing, and it's like, why is I'm supposed to care now about this character because this thing happened to them, but like why did that, like this is the stuff that's like not really clear or like explained enough, and it like doesn't really connect too well to like what's actively going on. Again, it's a very difficult feat to pull off. I guess the one thing I would say that has gotten better consistently is the art style. It's just gotten more consistent. Like it was good at the beginning, and now it's just better slightly by a small amount. And yeah, it's just I'm still going through it. I'm like a third of the way through this monster. It's pretty long. They've been doing it for a while, like at least 10 years now, I think. So yeah, so I'm still sailing my way.
Plugging along, yeah.
Enjoy it. Were you caught up with this? I mean, I forget if you.
No, I caught up like maybe 2 years ago.
Uh-huh. Have you been reading it consistently since then, or just
no,
on and
absolutely
off?
not. I went through bursts, but it's hard to get back into because I feel like there was a wrapping up point.
Oh, really?
Like way back when, and then it kind of continued on.
His editor was like, "Keep fucking going,
yeah,
make me more money," or something. I don't know.
Yeah, and so it's just like it's hard for me to get back into it because I don't really feel the desire to follow these characters anymore.
That's interesting.
It's still I do agree with you. The art's great, and
yeah,
certain moments are very impactful. It's not the worst shonen. It's just
not
it's
at
a
all.
shonen.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just super basic and everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And all the issues that I complained about last time, even though overall I think it's decent, sort of. It's like okay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But yeah, that's my update.
And getting back into Naked Lunch, there's some more I would like to discuss about the book specifically.
Yeah.
Because I haven't. There's a lot of different literary eras, I guess, and I'm not super well versed in the postmodernist stuff, just because it was never something we really learned about in school. So getting into William S. Burroughs stuff, as he is one of like the founding, I guess, writers or foremost writers of the Beat generation, along with the Jack Kerouac and stuff like that. It's very strange kind of writing that I am enjoying reading, just in the different kind of prose and structure that they usually utilize in their books. This one specifically, it's like I would never recommend anyone go into this book expecting it to be like a narrative, like a single through line. It's much more fragmented than that. There are different like vignettes and like routines that are depicted, that some of them blend together, but some of them don't. It's different points in time and different locations. A lot of it, like the movie did, has to do with the main character. I guess if there is a main character called Lee, who is kind of, but not really, William S. Burroughs, the author. Mm-hmm. And he's a heroin addict in New York, but he's not in New York because he goes to this place called the Interzone, which is like a nightmarish like wasteland and totalitarian government that is completely twisted and corrupted and is like utilizing the most grotesque and barbaric and depraved avenues of every sort of taboo and obscenity and you know anything you could ever think to be censored is in this book, and it's all just like kind of vomited out there. There's a ton of like stream of conscious right like sort of prose where you know, the words are just falling over themselves, and you just like have to read in like excruciating detail as he just describes like some fetishistic orgy of like pedophilic, like necrophilic and brutal like rape and murder and blood and it's just like that for like 4 paragraphs. And like it's like next you know chapter you're reading about some weird ass mugwump alien that has like a cock growing out of its forehead.
Right.
And it's just like everything is just so insane and like obscene and depraved, and it's just like it's born of some fucked up mind. Like this as William S. Burroughs is just a strange guy, really fucked up, as we kind of discussed about his history and his predilections, but his writing speaks for itself. It is such an interesting book to read, and very stark, and despite all of the like the obscenities and the depravities that are depicted in it, it's very much played up for the extremes. It's very much like a black comedy or brutal critique of America, the culture at large, and what you know, just like trying to throw up like the biggest fuck you mirror to the world at large, and just being like, this is life, and all of the insanities that come with you know the contradictions and all of the different lifestyles and everything that could happen in the human experience. It's really a strange book. It's heady and hard to read and like awful at many places, but it's incredibly unique. And like if you're gonna read books and say that they're art, like this is definitely one of them. Like this is something weird.
It's one of the books of all time, you're saying?
It's one of the books of all time. Like it's hard to discuss it without you know coming off as masturbatory or like fucking circle jerking,
sure,
pretentious as fuck. But there is something valuable that you get from reading books like this, and you know you get to take the lessons as you will, but you know reading something that is so unforgiving or you know unaccessible, it helps you get a different view on whatever I guess that you want to engage with, whether that be a book or a movie or a video game, whatever. You know, difficulty is something that is worth overcoming often, I think.
Yeah, I'll have to check this one out at some point. It sounds
They're not super
like
long,
a really interesting
and
time.
he's a really interesting author, because I read Queer a while ago now, and it's because Lee is also the main character of that book.
Oh, really?
And he also shows up in Junkie. He's the main character, so it's definitely you know a bit of a stand-in for Burroughs, but it's also just a bit of a protagonist that he can place into a different world of his choosing.
They're not like technically the same characters, like same universe. It's just like
the
same
yeah,
name he
it
applies
very
to them.
well maybe, but it's not meant to be taken
Right.
literally. Because I know in Queer, you know, he's in Mexico beyond the border, in South America, and then in Queer, or in Naked Lunch, there's a weird, you know,
He's in like LA or
interzone in like Morocco and New York, and it's definitely not as literal of a world. It's definitely something more of like a stage that he gets to, you know, portray his fucked up thoughts and ideas on. I really don't know what to say. He's such a weird guy.
Yeah, it's cool though. So out of the book zone, we got the YouTube, which there were some interesting developments that were taking place within recent times. At least for me, there's this YouTuber called iDubbbz. Yeah, and he had this series of videos called Content Cop back in the day, and in high school, I think I was like a sophomore or something when some of these were coming out. Like these were the shit back in the day. These great. Content Cop videos.
They were peak.
Where he would, they were peak. Where he would basically go in to like some either specific sort of annoying YouTuber or just like a general type of videos being produced on YouTube, and he would go in and like critique these ways and like just like really go in and like just be sort of like aggressively criticizing certain people in usually funny ways, and they were out there, and it was a matter of like the YouTubers who he targeted for the most part of were like deserving of whatever harsh words he was attaching at them for the most part, and like they were interesting and like a pretty big deal for the YouTube experience in like 2016 in that era, and eventually he about 2 years ago or a year ago he like sort of turned away from all that, where he like came out and said like, I regret making those videos. They were not very nice. I am removing them so that people can't see them because I don't want to encourage them. And yeah, I'm going to take a different direction on YouTube from now on. And to do that, it takes a lot, right? To build up this audience over the years with those Content Cop videos.
And the various other
he makes like other videos too, like the bad unboxing where he people send him weird shit and then he tries to make a funny little show out of that. But yeah, like the Content Cop series is like really like it was sort of the soul of the channel.
Yeah,
it was
that's
like
what he was known
for. The biggest stuff going on there. And to like to essentially have this audience raised on them, like all these edgy teens, and then like they would mature, I guess, eventually, like myself, like I did.
But they never did.
Well, it's like didn't. Some and like to basically say like what I did in those videos was a bad thing. It does take a lot, whether he was right or not necessarily, because I feel like for the most part, there's like the Tana. Mongo, whatever her name was. And like I understand why he would maybe regret that one specifically, because it pertains a lot to the N-word, to which he has a very like just like edgy teenage white kid like perspective on the N-word, where it's like we only apply meaning to it. It's like not actually a big deal, guys, or like that's what it feels like he's saying. Or like coming across that video, which I did rewatch all of these for a thing, which I'll get to in a second.
Really? Okay.
I did rewatch the old ones because they've been re-uploaded and stuff, and like besides that and like moments like that, they are really, I think they do hold up. I think the Rice Gum one is the best. Like that one has the little like diss track at the end also, which was funny.
Like the best balance of critique versus humor.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And the Leafy is Here one is obviously influential as well, and really cool to see, even though it was Emp Lemon disproved that it was like that they're really like big deals. I mean, everybody thought like, oh, Leafy's channel completely died, but actually he looked up the stats and proved that that's not how it went down in history. Which was a good YouTube video by a good YouTuber, a bit better than this guy iDubbbz, because he recently made another Content Cop after saying he wasn't going to make them. And he made it on this dude H3H3 Productions, who was another YouTuber that I watched during the same era of like 2016, and then I stopped sort of watching him maybe in 2017 or 18 or so. Cause it's just kind of like, I don't know. He sort of devolved into like random stuff. And now he has this podcast where he says a bunch of in the moment stuff and just gets angry at everything. And iDubbbz made a content cop specifically on him as sort of like, he frames it as like a friend sort of like intervention thing almost, where it's like a call to action, like for help, like I want you to succeed or whatever, but I'm gonna do that by having an hour long berating session of like here's just a bunch of shit that like I don't like about you right now, and then I'm gonna hang out with a bunch of people who sort of despise your guts, like the most controversial people on the YouTube space right now. I'm gonna align myself with and come at you almost seemingly like an enemy, but I'm actually your friend, is sort of how he's framing it. Not to get it like too much into the nature of it, because there's like so much to unpack, like, which is,
I mean, it's hard to not get into it because it is so much like
it's still ongoing drama. Like just this weekend he released the Content Deputy, which is the follow-up video. Have you seen these?
I saw the Content Cop.
Yeah,
I did not see the follow-up.
It has an overwhelmingly dislike ratio. It's like,
it was such an interesting thing to see pop up on my fucking,
I was like, there's
like
no
my front
way
page. I was
happening.
like, who else can I talk about with because it is such it's like such a terminally online kind of culture moment.
That's the thing about all these videos. It's like all the top comments. It's like
huge news for unemployed people. It's like, what the fuck?
Because that's funny. That's the other thing. Also, it's like you made all these videos, and like the Rice Gum one was maybe 2017 or 18, and that was like the most recent one since this now. And like everybody who watched that was probably in middle school or high school or whatever, and like we've grown up now. I don't really care much about iDubbbz as a YouTuber anymore. Like even before he came out, it was like I regret all of this stuff or whatever. And like H3 too, and it's just a matter of like, okay, maybe he's like bad and shit sometimes, but I really don't like as an individual care. You know what I mean? It's like the other ones I'm like invested in sort of, because the shittiness feels like more fully realized for like the Keemstar, Leafy, Rice Gum. Like they're pretty scummy, and I'm sure Ethan is too. But like it doesn't even like, it just feels like everybody involved just like kind of looks worse. You know what I mean? Like there's no victor.
It feels like
it's just like drama is just gonna be never ending from this point. It's just like
it didn't need to be labeled as a content cop because it doesn't seem very similar. And
it's super different in like the format. Like he does like skits or like whatever and the other stuff, but in this he like makes some excuse where it's like, I'm not going to do that this time because
he's just defending himself a lot and trying to like come across why he wasn't supporting Ethan or whatever, and then fighting back against things that he said. It's just really messy, and it was kind of cool to witness, but also
it was super interesting knowing what's happened in the past, but like the actual like video and like now new results that came from it, it's like
neither of us have watched them in a while, and it's hard to be engaged with them when it's been like probably like 6-7 years now since I've last engaged with any of their content, and they've both changed pretty drastically from what I was ever engaged with. So it's like, as have I. So it's hard to actually like keep myself, as like I just like after watching an hour of that fucking content, I was like, I think I'm good now.
I guess I'll continue with my life.
Type of thing. It really doesn't affect me much at all, but it was interesting for the ripple it kind of threw out. If it didn't really
that's the main thing. Like I feel like the connectivity that you have is like kind of lost, because you have these videos where you criticize these people for good reasons mostly, and people love those, and they're awesome, they're funny, and they're real. Like these people deserve to like be shown their like bad sides of them. You know what I mean? And you go and then you say like, actually every single aspect of those are not good, and I shouldn't have done any of that. And it's like, you're saying that to your audience of people who really love them, and then now you're like essentially doing the same thing but worse. Like I don't understand his mindset on like this thing and how you consider
Yeah.
the previous ones, the old ones bad, but this one's tolerable. It's okay. Like this one
Hmm.
feels like on a moral standpoint worse almost. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
It seems less warranted to
yeah.
some extent. Because it is very much like a falling out between friends. And,
No, yeah. It
these
feels
friends
like
are
petty
like public
beef more than
figures.
anything.
It's internet public figures, so they have much more of a wider audience, and maybe their influence is felt much more beyond that.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, you thought
but
he had a banger with this one.
yeah,
Or something.
uh,
There's like
yeah,
conspiracy theories also of like he wanted to just upload a content cop to be a promotion for the Creator Clash thing, which is like a that
mm,
YouTuber charity boxing
that he
event
puts
that
on. Yeah,
he was in charge of organizing. Um, except he stepped down now, so that other people could clean up his mess. I guess I don't know. I mean,
yeah,
doing that would be hard, but also, I mean, I don't know. It
yeah.
just feels like
Messy
a weird timing
situation.
thing of like
It
you're
is.
gonna have that event where like people already have mixed feelings about you for like all that stuff I described of like you
Hmm.
have this established YouTube thing. You're like, I'm not doing that anymore. And then like whatever various like everybody's like thinks he's a cuck or whatever because his girlfriend's on OnlyFans and like that it's the same audience who would like care about that of like his past fans, you know, and
Yeah,
stuff like that. Um, and so yeah, it's just like a weird time to make it. The year 2025 content cop on H3H3. It's just strange. It's just
yeah.
strange.
I mean, it's because it's regarding recent drama
No,
or
yeah,
whatever, but still, it's like what? Yeah, it didn't really directly
yeah. It's just like
relate
all
to him
sides
at
look
all,
bad,
but
and like it
yeah.
doesn't even really matter that much. It's just it's
That's a good way to put it.
like
Nothing really happened, and it doesn't really matter.
yeah.
But whatever.
Unemployed
It's
people
def
love it, so I've heard. But yeah, that's one of my YouTube things, I guess.
I didn't have much on my end besides a video I want to kind of point your way. Have you ever heard of the channel called Never Knows Best?
I don't think so.
Okay, he does like really long, like hour long plus kind of video essays on video games. Sometimes it's like the history of RPGs or the history of JRPGs, and it's like 3 hours long. And it actually goes like, what was the like does the research.
Oh,
They're
okay.
pretty they're
I've seen the
fun ones.
entire history of RPGs. I've
Yeah,
seen that one come
yeah,
on to my
yeah.
thing.
His
I'll add
most
that shit
well
to
known
my
one.
watch list.
The one I want to point your way is actually investigating gaming is dying, and that's one of his more recent videos. And it's essentially it
Jimmy's
doesn't
dying.
directly discuss like the. I guess we haven't really discussed it on this before, where like the we've discussed the culture war that is kind of surrounding gaming and like the vocalness that some people have is like, oh, this is the worst game ever. Like, this is the worst time for games ever. Um, and it's easy to be, you know,
Doomer is what the kids
hyperbolizing
would call
about and doomer and nihilistic about these things. But, actually looking into it, the video does a good job of like, actually like, maybe there is something to it. The business, like the, you know, game development as a business is in a really bad way. Like the amount of layoffs have been exponential over the past few
No,
years.
yeah.
The amount of games that are coming out are like there's more than ever, but the competition is also
Yep.
way worse because
The
there's
developmental time's way
there's a
longer.
bigger the length of time and live service games.
Yeah.
If you're just playing one game, that means you're not playing any of the other games that are continuously releasing throughout the rest of the year, like years. And there's even more that are releasing every year, and there's a wider audience because Eastern markets and the Chinese is developing a ton now. And as you could like figure out in the video, he discusses that Chinese people like to play Chinese games, and for the most part, the individual markets like to prefer their own games, except for Western audiences. They're pretty like, I'll play a FromSoft or a Nintendo game no matter what. It doesn't really matter. But that also leads to higher, and it's just the game industry is in a tough position right now. It'll be interesting to see what happens. It was over speculated essentially. The video does a good job of getting into the nitty gritty details, but the market was over speculated. It was a bubble. People, it was the most successful business that is making anything right now is the video game business, but it had to stop at some point because it was continuously growing and now it's not. And so that's the first time it's ever happened, which is why everyone's like, okay, everything's bad. Games are dying. It's never going to go back. Everything's bad.
It's over.
It's maybe not that bad, but it'll be interesting to see what happens now that the trends are essentially everyone who will play a game are playing games.
Right.
And so how do you get people to attract to your games and continue to play it? Or how do you find success when those types of games that were profitable are no longer profitable because of the cost to make games has risen exponentially, as well as the actual price for games staying the same. And so now we're seeing, Nintendo getting those
$80 for Mario Kart, but
and people are pissed, but
it makes sense
if we
for
want
the proportions of inflation compared to the cost to
something
make them.
Had to give.
The cost
something had to give, and things are definitely they are friction. There's a lot of friction right now with figuring out what's going to give first. Is it going to be consumers are going to have to pay more? Is it going to be there's going to be less games, or there's going to be less AAA publishers or whatever? Things are going to have to. They're obviously downsizing a ton because of how many layoffs there have been in the game development sphere. But it's interesting to see just a kind of in-depth breakdown over the actual business trends and wider cultural trends that are affecting them, and not just game woke bad. It's just I'd like a little more nuance to that.
Yeah. The fucking Dragon Age.
Yep, Dragon Age. But it's that was just one that was very obvious to me because I was a fan. But it's damn near every game.
Sure.
There was shit about the Monster Hunter game. There was shit about.
Oh yeah.
The Last of Us 2 is especially bad. Then Naughty Dog has problems with a bald woman in a trailer. And it's just the grifters are gonna grift. And Sean had that great video that I will always think about now. Whenever I see grifters, it's that is what it's the business. It's literally the business. They're doing that because the only way to not support it is to not pay attention to it. It's just ignore it because whatever reaction that you have to it is what they want. And it's good to always have that in mind. And I would, this game, actually Investigating Gaming is Dying, is a nice kind of companion piece to that video, because he does something more similar where it's oh yeah, I'm going to actually do the research and I'm going to actually play, Stellar Blade or whatever, and something to be commended on, I think.
I'll check those videos out eventually. And if you are the kind of person to complain about the Western game devs, the women made from those games they own they're not good, they're not good looking, then just play games from Japan or Korea or something, because they're still misogynistic there. So they'll build the female characters in certain ways that those types of people. That's
another interesting thing that he. It's another interesting thing he raises, because while the Western game development
the Japanese people
market
keep gooning.
Is bad,
they keep increasing the goon levels.
There's the Eastern game devs are doing pretty well. There's a lot of success there. So I guess it
directly correlates actually with the attractiveness of the women.
Just make the girls hot and
just make the boobs bigger.
You make money. Exactly. Why didn't they think about this?
Why are Western devs so stupid now?
Why are they so dumb? God, I hate the. Yep.
Yeah, I'll check out his stuff. There's also this YouTube video, an in-depth look at romance in video games, where one of the characters in the thumbnail seems to be from this game called Tokimeki Memori. which is this very old dating sim from the either 80s or 90s or something. And there's this cool video by this YouTuber, Action Button Reviews, who I think just goes by Action Button now on YouTube, where he covered that game pretty heavily in depth. And it was like a 3 or 4 hour long video about just like his entire process with the game from start to finish, and like sort of a history of the game and like what it is and also what it means to him, but also him like just understanding the game, because it's so not hand-holdy, because that's you know how video games were back then. And it was just sort of him figuring out over time, over a fairly long time, of like how to even get the romance shit to work, because it's a weird quirky and funky game. And yeah, that video was like 4 hours or something.
I did watch it.
Yeah. Oh, did you?
I forgot. I forgot.
You're aware of that
watched it. But yeah, I watched him first when I saw him review Cyberpunk 2077.
Oh, okay.
And he had like
that unlisted playlist
5
of like
different. Yeah,
it was like 8 or 9 of them,
3 hours
an hour
long.
Each.
Yeah.
What would you say is the longest a YouTube video should be for that sort of like, if we really want to go in depth and look at every little nook and cranny of a specific topic?
I think 3 hours is a good amount of time for watchability, along with in-depthness. Like that's the amount of time I'm willing to put up with, and that's obviously I'm at 2.5 times speed.
No, yeah,
minimum at that point. So
for the normal person, like an hour and a half.
Scale that as you will, yeah. But also, I understand that you're not meant to watch it all at once. Obviously not. You're
Probably
not meant to watch it all at one time.
No.
So especially if it's 6 hours.
The Tokimeki Memorial one took me a minute to get through.
It's a very long one.
3 hours, someone is the limit for you. What about 9 hours 40 minutes?
That seems
for a singular YouTube video.
Maybe excessive. Why do you have any
well, that Action Button Reviews person, if you scroll to their most recent video, they have one on LA Noire, the video game.
I do see that.
9 hours 40 minutes. And he's known for these very long types of videos. The Tokimeki Memorial one is like, I mean, you just had to pull it up. It was like 4 hours or something. He had a Final Fantasy VII remake that was also like 4 hours. His Boku no Natsuyami was also another good one. That one's also around the 4 hour mark.
6 hours.
And this one is 9 hours 40 minutes for LA Noire. And it does feel excessive for once. It was like he hadn't uploaded a video since 2 years, so I guess during that entire time he was just whatever YouTube stuff he was spending making this, which is interesting. I don't know. I assume he probably works on multiple projects at once. If I had to guess, he may have explained how he makes YouTube videos in one of his
that are so long.
Yeah, exactly. And like he works with other people and stuff too. And like this particular video was interesting because he wrote and acted it almost like he was like acting out a noir itself, where like he was talking in a certain way and he was using certain words and phrases that would be reminiscent
associated with it.
The noir genre, which was impressive, but I was also sort of like waiting for
9
him
hours
to
into
break
it.
out of it and like, we gonna be real here for a second, or it's okay? No, we're still doing this even in this section, sort of thing. So it sort of lost me, honestly. Like I enjoyed the longness of his other videos, where I really like his Final Fantasy VII remake one. That's the first one on that channel, where he just goes in and he's explaining the remake and the original and like drawing some comparisons and contextualizing it within his own life. And he's also explaining his exact process across multiple playthroughs. He's going into like how much time he spent specifically across them, like running from one point to another, or being in combat, or being in cutscenes, or just being in menus. Like he goes through all of his gameplay footage and like organizes it and like puts it together on like display for us. And I think that amount of effort to put into a singular YouTube video is pretty cool. And he's, I mean, in this LA Noire thing, he's basically just like I don't even know. Like I don't even know. It just got to
It's
a point where
three
it's like I don't
times
even
that
know.
length.
I don't even know
Yeah,
anymore. You know, it's like it's hard to when he's doing that in that writing style and speaking style. It's hard to like keep track of like what is the opinion being stated. What is the like what's happening really. You know
it's
what I
too
mean? For
verbose
like a
to
YouTube
actually
video.
ground in on like a critique at all. It's
No,
just
I know.
like,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, I can understand it because
Um,
9 minutes is extremely intimidating. There's no
nine
way I'm
minutes.
gonna remember nine nine
Yeah,
hours.
yeah.
There's no way I'm gonna remember something from 9 minutes
No, I know. From nine
to
minutes
fucking
in,
9 hours.
yeah,
It's like,
exactly.
wow, yeah. It seems like a whole ass like
Yeah, it's weird.
course. Like this is like a full like, you know, class that you could take on a single
Because I mean,
game,
yeah,
which
like the
is kind
main,
of cool, but
yeah, like it's cool that he was in character, and he had like a dressed up, and then he had like a set of like the detective desk like office thing, and he was
Mhm.
like speaking in character, and it was written that way the whole time or whatever. And like that, yeah, that's cool. But the main takeaway is like, what am I getting? Like the main stuff that I got from it is that like video game logic is weird. You know what I mean? Where like in the story, a certain cutscene will take place 100% of the time, even though as he's controlling his character, he'll be like knocking into other people and like shooting at the wrong thing or like driving in a really shitty way. But still, by the end, like people like in game treat it like, oh, that was a normal thing that happened, even though in real
Mhm.
life that would be weird and out there. So like that was my main takeaway through that entire video is that like that disconnect between the like video game logic and ours,
Mhm.
which like is an interesting one, but like not a 9 hour 40 minutes like long worth of that. You know, it's like it's just kind of weird. You know what I mean? Like he
Yeah.
goes over parts of the game that he like I guess enjoyed or didn't enjoy, but it's mostly uh like what he struggled with in terms of the mystery moments or like what he thought was obvious or would go a certain way. And he's like again framing that in that narration style. But it just comes like completely it just becomes difficult to keep track of that and it kind of loses me
Mm.
a little bit. It's like, but like I can't even call it like a bad YouTube video. It's fucking free content on the internet, 9 hours 40 minutes, free video thing that I could look at and watch, and like it's well edited, and like the I don't even want to say that it's poorly written or anything, but it's just like
That's just
sort
too
of a
much.
baffling thing. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like
Yeah.
this is weird.
You don't often come across 9 hour
No.
videos um, on YouTube at all, so it's definitely impressive. I
Yes, he definitely put a shit ton of time into this, like no
it's
doubt.
enough so that it's even like I don't even know if I'll check it out.
No,
Like I
yeah,
have to be
it's weird.
like
It's out there.
9 hours is actually insane.
Have you
Like
watched his other stuff, like the Final Fantasy VII remake? Or I
I
would
haven't
recommend
watched
that
all
one
of
in
them
the
just because
Boku
they are
no
all so long.
Natsuyami.
So like I have to. It takes me a while
But
to
they're
be like,
cool.
okay, I want to actually like
No, yeah.
get like really deep dive on this specific
Right.
thing. With something like, you know, Last of Us or Final Fantasy, like I'm familiar with those properties enough that I don't feel like I need a deep dive.
Okay.
But I did check out the Togimeki
Yeah,
Memorial
I
just
think that was
because
the first one
I
I saw
had no
from him.
idea which,
I had
like
no
I
idea
don't know
who
what
he
it
was. I
is.
had no idea what
Yeah,
that was, and I'm like, that was a banger right there.
yeah.
That was some real shit right there. Because
Hmm.
this Boku no
He's
Natsuyami one is
definitely
also good.
he's a great writer and he does like really in-depth reviews. But I understand, like without having watched the 9 hour long video essay, I can already understand and sympathize with the problems that you were having with it. Because yeah, there's a certain je ne sais quoi about his videos that I can understand being grating in a 9 hour format.
No, yeah,
But
it was
that
interesting
is
though.
all. I've got nothing else to discuss on the YouTube
I
side
got
of
nothing else. I'm
things.
out of content. That means I'm out of conversation. What do you think? Am I supposed to talk about my life and like
The fuck?
what do I
No,
do in my? No, it's we're talking about the pods. Okay,
the pods,
it's
exactly.
not the word that sounds bad like that's consume the consumption things. It's the pods. Okay,
It's
that's
the
how we're branding
pods.
it.
Yeah.
It's actually way better, or it sounds better, or whatever. So yeah, that's been another banger from Jupiter. I hope you enjoyed sitting your ass down and listening, taking notes. Now you know what to do in life. for the next month at least. And yeah, we'll see you next time when we come around to that. So see you.